Welcome to the Weeb Crew stream.
Welcome to the Weeb Crew. All right. I think I want to get to like the technical difficulties preamble done now. All right. So, as you probably guessed from the thumbnail, less so the title, we're going to be talking about like the thing everyone loves to talk about. Culture war bullshit.
Oh. I guess that's dramatic.
What?
Well, specifically, we're talking about how this shouldn't be culture war bullshit.
It really shouldn't, but it is.
The fact that it is just speaks volumes to the grift, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
and now here we are in hell.
Yeah.
Look at Mr. Stanchik here. Does he look like he wants to be talking about this? Nah, he looks like he wants to go home and listen to swans.
I mean, with his transparency, it's hard to really get a read on his emotions. I mean, he could want to talk. He could be like really excited. It's hard to really tell, to be honest.
It was hijacked in the culture war bullshit. Yeah.
What was the thing you said the other day? Like, I would rather they don't know about this. The fucking party meme.
Oh yeah, yeah. All right, let me just get this article pulled up real quick so we have like somewhere to start.
Yeah, so I guess this is my fault.
It is.
I forget.
So I'll take us off.
Was it the Asmongold video that I came across, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Why?
Didn't Shapes tweet about it?
I don't. He might have, but I didn't see it. But I feel like that's kind of the thing, right? Just everybody was recommended this fucking Asmongold video. It's got like fucking 800,000 views at this point.
Oh yeah, I guess I can pull that up as well.
Oh, I found it. My back hurts. No one has seen Cyber Seduction.
What the hell are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about. Oh. You'll try and stay focused. I swear to God. All right.
All right. Culture war.
Yeah,
you got to put on your helmet.
World of Warcraft.
Get your I don't know, Stimtar and Field. I don't know.
Asmongold $2 steak.
I'm trying to think. Oh God. No, we need to find.
Just put Localizer woke translator. That's what it is.
Oh, that woke. Oh, here we go. Woke translators already replaced by AI. In parentheses, they're mad. Woke translators get confronted for ruining Japanese animes.
That's the worst title ever.
The problem is like.
Oh wait, are you gonna stream on Discord so we can watch?
Oh right, yeah.
I was about to say.
Yeah, because we can't watch it through the stream.
Right.
I am, but it's also like, I don't know, probably like 15 seconds behind.
Yeah, so.
But yeah, the fact that this is like becoming some kind of like culture war political stance is just fucking stupid.
Yeah, where like I don't think Asmongold even watches. I think he says that he doesn't really watch anime at all.
That's kind of the problem. It's like
so it's like now people from outside of this fandom are now coming in to commentate on stuff. So it's like, well,
isn't he mostly a gamer? Because I feel like gamers
he's like a World of Warcraft streamer or something.
Yeah, well, I don't play WoW, but I imagine.
Like I think he said like he watched anime like 10, 15 years ago. And then watched an anime he did not like and then just stopped watching it.
He watched an anime, he said he said he was
Bleach
middling
or Naruto or something.
Yeah, it was something. It was like, yeah, he did Bleach, Naruto, and something else that's completely random. So it's like he doesn't even remember. But he
doesn't remember.
He didn't like it. Okay, like he didn't like it that much. Like it was like it didn't seem like he hated it. Kind of weird. I don't know.
But it's very funny because if you watch this stream, I don't know if we want to go through it because it's fucking 46 minutes long. Although it would be funny to react to him reacting to a video, but watching this, it's really funny because between this and then he did like another one where he goes from like having like no familiarity or understanding with this topic to now talking like he's like an authority on the matter. It's really funny. It's really, really funny.
I mean, you just typing in Asmongold localizers gave you fucking like 4 or 5 fucking videos.
Yeah, because we have all these, and then like Revsaysdesu, and then
Woke translators
there's
are out of
more.
control.
Oh my god!
Like this video topic just blew up, and he's just riding that fucking gravy train.
I guess, yeah. Well, I mean, he doesn't really need to. I mean, maybe he does. I don't really know, but it's like
the second that Asmongold watched it on stream, the second that 5 upload channels were going to, clip it, right?
Right, yeah, clip it.
Like some of them are like obviously it's Asmongold and then Rev, but like I'm sure there's other side channels.
Almost certainly. And then there's a whole like cottage industry for shit like this.
Yes.
So I guess to give some just general context, though, for what we're talking about is that a few weeks ago, it was announced that, and I'm now realizing chat is blocking this. God damn it. Let me figure out how to orient this, maybe. Oh, no. What if I did this, kinda? There we go. That's a makeshift solution. So it was announced that the manga for the Ancient Magus Bride was going to be coming back, except the English releases were going to be coming back, and that the translation would be handled by AI. Essentially, is the topic at hand. So this got announced, and the responses were divided, and the camps I would describe them, the two like reactions people had were basically people who were against the use of AI, believing that it was going to result in an inferior product from just regular human translation, and then people who believed that AI would basically save them from all these sorts of like localization bullshit that they don't like from being in this manga. Now, the latter response kind of confused me because, at least as far as I'm aware, and I'm not like someone who follows like Ancient Magus Bride very closely, but I've not really heard of any sort of like localization or translation mishaps with this manga, so I have I don't really know why they're celebrating it as a victory against like, putting like, patriarchy or whatever the fuck in like anime subtitles, anime dubs.
We want to like give them the I don't it's not really a steel man of it, but it's like it's just like representative of like, okay, this is where the future is going, right? Like so it's not necessarily directed at Ancient Magus Bride's fucking woke translators specifically. It's just like this is where the industry is going. Checkmate, liberals.
So my counterpoint to that, though, is that people were citing that the explicit reason for this move to AI, this move away from just human translators to AI, was spurred on by woke localizers inserting their politics into the matter, into the material, essentially. Now, I've seen absolutely nothing to back that claim up. As far as I can tell, it's completely baseless, really. My hypothesis is basically just that one, AI can assist with speed, because an AI can translate faster than a human would be able to, and two, it would be cheaper. And the two things that really govern the translation game on an industrial scale nowadays are speed and costs. That's why the whole thing with like, you want to have day one translations out, and you want them to be cost as little as possible.
Right.
That seems to me to be like the more rational explanation than the publishers in Japan. I'm not sure which company is responsible for Magus Bride's publication, or who is responsible for it for its licensing in the US. I think it might say here. But I don't think it's really a matter of like any sort of like culture war things, like even remotely. I think that's just I think that's really just completely stretching, honestly.
It's just horseshit is what it is. Like they've so there have been a couple of instances that are notably egregious over the last
We have a
7 years, I guess, because
since if so I know maybe you'll go a little bit farther because there was like stuff with like prison school as well, the dub for prison school that people got mad at.
The Gamergate thing or something.
Yeah, something like that. Which,
but they don't really
I'm not going to sit
anymore.
here and argue that it's not lame or whatever, but it's also, isn't that only in the dub? I don't care about the dub for prison school, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, if okay.
Oh, I completely forgot there was something in the dub of that. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
It is like, on the subject of it is very fucking lame, a lot of these.
Hajime no Gao was another one like that.
Which one?
Hajime no Gao.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
The dub had like some line that was like gross otaku or something like that. People were mad about. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, yeah, there's like, yeah, general.
Again, this was like 6 years ago, so I don't like.
Yeah, well,
cares?
okay, so the thing with this is that as Herlabu pointed out in chat is that I will say 99% of translation is actually good outside of rush work and 1% are cringe, because what we're talking about here with all these examples, all the examples given, is that it's, I've never really seen it be like a massive like systemic issue, at least when it comes to manga and anime. Maybe it's different for video games, but all the examples I've seen when it comes to manga and anime are generally just one-off lines, essentially. Nagatoro said sus. Nagatoro, not even one lines, just word choices. Nagatoro said sus. Nagatoro said Giga Chad or something along those lines. Where
what's always funny about that?
They're not like miswritten. They're not necessarily like completely altering the content, except for, and this is something that a lot of people talk about when it comes to the Dragon Maid dub, is the queer erasure of the Dragon Maid dub, which, if you ask me, is much more egregious. But it's also something you have to like explain a little bit more. It's not as much of a hot button issue, and it's, not something you can really rally the troops behind. You know what I mean?
Well, you can't rally the people who are going to be outraged by like culture war shit, right? You can't rally them behind like a movement or a critique of something that's erasing like queerness,
right?
They don't give a shit about queerness. They don't want it in anything.
Yeah.
There's a very good video about all of these subjects, which everybody should check out after this stream specifically.
After this stream, what's the video?
Sarah Moon did a video on AI translation on her second channel, and then she did one on the Dragon Maid dub specifically.
I'm sorry, YouTube no longer allows you to find second channels anymore.
Okay, so the Dragon Maid one, if you scroll down a bit, it's like, or it's like her one of the more popular videos. You just hit popular.
And do popular.
It's the second one right there.
Okay.
Despite the obvious clickbaity stuff,
I hate men.
She does go in a very kind of mediated, like, kind of nuanced, like, look at the translations, and she's like, would the characters be aware of these fucking terms? Would they use these terms? The context of like, which that's a lot of translation, because like even she says like, I wouldn't translate these things this way, but it's not necessarily, some of them are not necessarily wrong. Like she does say she does outright say the patriarchy one is probably a wrong, like it's funny to her, like it's funny, but it's like, it doesn't really fit. It doesn't really like make sense for the scene. It's just kind of like, it's just funny, right? It's just a joke that's being inserted in there.
Well, that's like a consideration that we need to make, is because when we talk about translation, I think it's important to know that in order to be a skilled translator, you don't just need to be fluent in like the languages you're translating between, but you also need to be like a talented and like creative writer in your own right, essentially, in order to be able to like determine like how to translate the line in the most appropriate and effective way possible. So I think what's generally missing in discourse when we talk about issues with like dubs, issues with translations and the like, the matter of approaching it from as like a creative act, what would we consider to be like a creative like how do I want to say this? Good Lord. Like, you know, how would we approach this in terms of like, I don't really believe that this is necessarily the best creative choice that they could have gone with when translating this line, or, you know, going how they handled this dialogue or whatever. Because instead of just writing it off as being like, it's woke, it's bad, it's whatever, let's like try and get like inside like the mind of the translator. What were they thinking? How are they thinking about this? And then kind of use that to, like, you know, constructively critique their work, essentially.
I don't even think you have to go that far to where you're like trying to ascribe like motivations, right? I think you can just look at the work itself. So like, just an example, I'm not like, I haven't watched Nagatoro, right? Nagatoro, whatever the fuck her name. I obviously haven't watched it, right?
Sure.
So I have no idea what the context was for the usage of like sus. But when you think like, she's like a kid, like she's a fucking Zoomer in a time period where like this fucking game is popular. It's not out of the realm that she would be like. It just depends on like what the line actually was in Japanese and how it's supposed to like come across, right?
Well, people said something about like Among Us or whatever, but sus is not from Among Us.
No, it was like
sus is like already a term,
thing, but it was like a
it definitely became
like,
it's
been a word for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I never got that criticism because I'm like, it's just a word. Like I don't like you're getting mad over literally a word.
But it is like it's definitely like
suspect or suspicious. Like,
yeah, I mean, it definitely became more widely used in a certain time frame,
sure.
which I think like people like they get all like weirdly up in arms about, where they're like, "Oh, this dates it." It's like, dog, the anime is dated. Like it takes place in a specific time period already. Like, I get. I can appreciate,
you know? But like,
yeah, I can appreciate the criticism of
so
like,
even Nanashi is even like a more shitposty author, anyways.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Like his name is
cannot
clearly
divulge on
to
stream, Gil.
Well, Nanashi itself, the name is like referenced like 2-channel.
Oh, is it? Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was another thing
too. Yeah,
like,
well, yeah, she's like a young, like trendy kind of character.
Well, I was like, I remember in the manga, people complained about the usage of like 4chan lingo, and it's like, well, does it make sense for the character to use that link? Like, what kind of character? Like, you have to like look, like the initial reaction to be like, why the fuck are they saying sus? Why are they calling people normies or whatever? Like, that you have to look at the context, right? Because like they're using certain lingo that has to be translated in, like, this is where localizers come in, right? Quote, like the air quote localizing, where if you're saying a certain kind of lingo, right? Like let's say there's a character that's like saying like kita, and like it's clearly, this character's clearly been established as like someone that uses 2-channel a lot, because kita is like a very popular like stream, like they use it a lot on like what's the streaming video, not Vimeo, I can't fucking think of it. They use it a lot on like this live streams for that. They use it a lot on
like Nico Nico,
Nico Nico, yes,
Nico Nico.
They use a lot of Nico Nico. They use it a lot of like forums and stuff. So like, you could just translate that to just like, it's here, or like it's arrived or something like that, right? And that's technically correct, but that's missing like the nuance and the context of like, this is clearly some kind of reference to them being this fucking nerd that's using these fucking nerd services, right? Like they're saying a internet lingo specifically because that's like their characterization. So like, if you just translate it as like it's here, you lose that. And even though that's like literally correct, like you literally just translate kita, that's not necessarily the intent. And that's where like the localization comes in, right? You're supposed to be getting across the intent of the scene or the intent of the line through the dialogue.
Right.
There's obviously like gradients of that, right? Like obviously you can just completely fabricate stuff, and people always get like up in arms about that shit, except when it's fucking fully coolly back in like 2000. People fucking, that's always used as like the example, as like the pinnacle of like dub localizations, right? Because they just like they change like there's like references to like just obscure fucking sodas that were like a limited time run in Japan. So if you literally translated it, it's gonna be referencing some fucking Ramune flavor that
Right.
you
It's
don't
like,
fucking
no,
know.
fuck it.
You're
It's
like, what?
Crystal Pepsi.
Yeah, Crystal Pepsi. There you go. And like everybody loves that shit. But
Right.
like you change shit and other stuff, like oh no, I mean, it definitely is like you have to approach it from like a case by case basis, right? You can't just like have this knee jerk reaction of like, ugh, she said sus, ugh. Like.
I want to say I feel like it's also a time thing because if you remember, like people were clowning on stuff like Asmongold and Lucky Star all the time back in the day, and now with like the anime core movement and everything, that stuff is cool. It's cool to be like, oh, welcome back to 2006, colon 3 XD.
Yeah.
That was not cool at all back in the
No,
day. You would
absolutely
be
not.
made so fun of. I'm just saying, in 20 years, Nagatoro saying sus is going to be nostalgic, and it's going to be very funny.
It'll remind us of a simpler time when we're all fending after scraps, because World War III has like wiped out civilization. So I guess an interesting example
still
here,
watching anime.
like that we can like illustrate this pretty clearly. Is from an article from Bounding into Comics, which I guess if you're familiar with this, you may like or dislike this source. But I'm not really going to get into what the article says. I'm just going to use them as a resource for like the manga and anime subtitles, and then try not to scroll down to the comments because there might be something vile in there that would get the stream fucking.
I've never
nuked.
heard of this site. Is it some like conservative site?
It's like in the same vein as like niche
outrage
gamer
culture
and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know, something Senpai gets contacts or whatever, and Nagatoro, in the anime, makes this comment in the Crunchyroll, subtitled version, which is that she says, "Are you trying to stop being a 4-eyed dork and become a Giga Chad?" Which it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like,
cringe.
I don't know, it's kind of eye rolling,
Yeah.
Nah,
this line here though, the one above, I don't really think makes it doesn't flow quite as well. So it's like, are you trying to stop being a 4-eyed kid and become a hot guy? I'm like, no, becoming a hot guy sounds too rigid, is what I would say.
Yeah.
It doesn't really sound like natural dialogue. Yeah.
Actually, the top one, which is not localizer, but it's not AI, but it does actually kind of sound like AI because
it kind of does. Yeah, it's like, are you becoming a hot guy? But
As
the
someone
manga,
that's
the
a
manga
hot
actually,
guy?
to be fair, a
the
lot of
manga
fan
actually-
translations do sound like that because they're just not very good at like English or Japanese a lot of the time, and they're certainly not good writers.
We'll get
but
into
that's
fan
what people want.
translations in a bit because there's some interesting argumentation surrounding that as well. So
Yeah.
it's like the whole become a hot guy. I think the manga actually handles this pretty well though. It's like gonna give up the 4 eyes look and try going for a hot guy vibe. I think that's the overall better version of the line in English, is what I would say. It flows pretty well, conveys the same idea without, meme language. That I don't even think really fits Nagatoro's character, to be honest.
I don't know. Okay, so if like it
Like
depends on
hot
what she's
guy
saying in
vibe.
the
I could see her
Japanese.
saying that.
Well, she's saying like by shonen, like in the Japanese, right? That would make sense that you could translate that to a Giga Chad because like that's the current thing now, as like the
I
equivalent
did
of
run
like
this
a
by
Shonen
Joe
Japan, right?
the other evening when I was looking at this, and he said it was basically just like, and what you said is closer to hot guy and anything like that.
What
I think
chapter is that?
I mean, the kind of
this
people
is
watching the
chapter
show are also
73.
watching like Lost Pause or whatever. Like they're familiar with this kind of language. It's just when
Mhm.
you are the type of person who watches literally every type of seasonal that you may not be on TikTok or as much or social
Right.
media in general or whatever. You're not as familiar. That's when it's like, whoa, Giga Chad, that's kind of cringe. But I don't know. I think
Right.
it's
Well, your
fair enough
average
to put it in.
your average viewer of
Crunchyroll
this
as well.
stuff, like
Everybody uses
your
Crunchyroll.
average like Crunchyroll person watching like these seasonal anime like this is not going to give a fuck.
Yeah, I
This
have
is
brothers,
like the most like non-issue for like everyone, really.
I have brothers in high school, and I can tell you that like the Giga Chad thing sounds much more like something that they would say. Like they would probably say like, "Oh, you trying to like what you trying to looks maxing shit or something?" But like,
I mean, she's
like,
specifically a teasing character. Like, I think it's perfectly in
Right.
character for her.
yeah, like it doesn't like I don't know the hot guy like removing some kind of like
I think
label
hot guy
and just
vibe
making
works.
it works, but I don't know if it like I don't know if it necessarily like I'm actually advocating for the Giga Chad fucking translation just from
I
like
feel, I
a
feel
like
like
a high
I feel like hot
school
guy vibe. See, well, I mean, we're having like a conversation about this though, which is kind of like the
yeah
whole point.
So I'm looking at the raw Japanese.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so the first subtitle, the first fan sub one, right? It's very, very literal
Right.
because he says, not he, she says, fuck, whichever. Okay, there. Megane ko yamete. So like, stop being a glasses kid.
Glasses, yeah.
Mote mote. What mote mote is a slur. Man, slurs.
Oh
Slang.
my god.
Slang. Like sexy, like a
Okay.
popular sexy guy. And she says otoko or otoko. So mote mote otoko. So like sexy guy. Become yada yada. And then like the
Right.
first one. So it says image. If you go back to the manga,
Mm-hmm.
if you scroll up to the manga, it says, "Are you trying to change your image?" Important thing here is that Japanese uses the loan word image from English, imeji, but not ever as a photograph. Only as the idea of the concept of the person.
Interesting.
Like the image of the person.
Right, yeah.
That's the only usage of that word in Japanese. So when she says image, she is literally meaning like the vibe of the person, what encapsulates the person, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like the translation, the fan sub one there is very, very literal.
Yeah, like I said, it doesn't really flow
sounds
too well.
So, yeah, stilted.
Yeah, again, I think going for a hot guy vibe that that flows a lot better. I think. And yeah, then become like a Giga Chad, which obviously I guess maybe that kind of works in the context of it being like slang.
I mean, you could, I guess, like if you wanted to just like restructure it a bit, you could be like, oh, you're trying to shake off your four-eyed look and make your high school debut as a hot guy or something.
Going for a fuckboy vibe, that would work.
Going for the fuckboy. Like okay. So that's kind of
an SPU line.
that gets down to the core of like what we're talking. Like a
Right.
lot of these translations are not wrong. It's a matter of like, because
what
like
do we
really at the end
consider
of the day,
to be creatively like the best option to go with, essentially? Because there's so many ways you can translate these lines, and it's a matter of, well, one, what is best is at least in part going to be a matter of personal opinion, but then it's also going to be like, well, what do we consider to be like the most creatively effective way to go about this?
right? Because like at the end of the day, like you just have to get across the idea of what's being said at the very bare minimum, right?
Right.
Like early fan subs often didn't have the greatest translation because it's just one dude and he's just like, I don't know, I somewhat study Japanese, I'm somewhat fluent.
I mean, we
sounds
talked
like
with
it'd be
William
right.
Chow about this and how like they were like, in part because they need to get these like translations out with a degree of reasonable speed for like the 80s and 90s, and they would sometimes literally just be like, yeah, they're saying something here, they're making like sounds, yep, and that would basically just be
William Chow
subtitle.
Kenny said they should make an anime comprised entirely of 2chan memes that would drive translators nuts.
Oh god,
that's literally just Steins Gate.
Hmm.
Like Steins Gate has like a shit like there's a whole fucking thing about there was a thing about Steins Gate back in the day because he uses like lesbo magnet or something. Like they translate like some weird fucking shit in Steins Gate. Because like Kirisu is supposed to literally be like a no life 2chaner, right? Like she's literally making references. Like I think they in the fan sub at one point they'd like have her be like, oh my god, Sage reported, called the cops, like that whole fucking stupid meme where she's like face palming. Like they had that kind of shit all over the fucking place in Steins Gate.
Yeah, I mean it's a very Akiba culture like show.
Yeah.
Starlight Veronica brings up a good point here, though, is that subs need to be subs for anime need to be less wordy than manga translations, which is also true.
Mhm.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think we've all
definitely.
had like, because one, you're limited by like the timing of the subs. I think we've all watched something with very poor subtitles where they put a lot of like they translate something in a very wordy way, and it's on screen for like maybe a second, and it's not long enough to read it, and you're like,
That's
what
a
the fuck did they
huge
just
problem
say?
with Future Boy Conan. It will like stack sometimes 4 lines on top of each other. Like, yeah, thank you.
I mean, an interesting example would be the Tatami Galaxy, because on top of like, the characters speaking fast in Tatami Galaxy, the way the subtitles are structured is that the sentences are very long and they're very complicated with like a lot of different like clauses in them, which, on top of it being very fast and going by very quickly, makes it even harder to read when the sentence structure is that complex.
Yeah, I mean, so that's something you could bring up, right? Like the constraints of the medium of the media, right? Is going to
Yes.
impact how the translation works. So like scanlation for manga is the same thing. I'm
Right.
saying this as someone who has done scanlation. It's you have to, like, for example, if you go back to the bubble on the article on the text bubble,
Yes.
you have to fit the text within the constraints of the bubble, which
Yes.
sometimes is extremely difficult because Japanese can use vertical writing.
Yeah, it's not really.
So Japanese can use vertical writing, which is not something that translates well into English. So they can make a pretty complex sentence within a very skinny bubble.
Well, Japanese is also
vertical.
much more information dense writing wise.
Yes, and that too. Yeah. So English becomes very hard to parse out because sometimes you put a translation that maybe isn't great, but maybe that's the only thing you could have done, or that's the only like conclusion you got to because of the constraint of the bubble. And anime subtitling is the same way in the sense of timing.
The density of it also it depends on what kind of series it is, right? Because like a shonen will use much more like lot less like katakana, or a lot less kanji and stuff like that. Whereas a shonen, like, that's kind of the main differentiator between like josei and seinen from shoujo and shonen is like how easy
is
are
like the
to
complexity
read.
of the language. Yeah.
Right. So that would definitely depend. Like if you have like a fucking seinen political thriller, like that's going to be a bigger issue than just like Dragon Ball Z, where they're just like fucking screaming and like saying very basic kind of like dialogue for the majority of it, right?
Right. And they use maybe some kanji that's lesser known. You got furigana to help you, whereas maybe that's not really present in your seinen political thriller.
Yeah. All this kind of highlights, because like we're sitting here talking about the nuances of like why you make these decisions, why why things are constrained the way they are. All these just highlight the fact that the people that are talking about this don't have any fucking idea what the fuck they're talking about half the time.
No, it's always very heated and it's very dishonest and it's just a lot of shit flinging.
A lot of them also don't speak a second language.
That's another thing as well.
Which, like, if you speak a second language, this will be so obvious to you how you can't just take a text and make it one for one.
Right.
Like, that's not how you
there's no
make an
such
engaging script.
one for one translations. I mean, maybe they do exist in certain contexts, but they're few and far between. And that's that's the thing we need to consider is, like I said, translation is at least in part a creative act essentially. And I don't think a lot of people really think about it or discuss it as such. You think of it more so as like a science where there is like the objective superior way to translate something.
Yeah.
Which again, like anyone who has that take has never translated a single thing in their life.
No, there are
anyone who has that take, like that's not a take you could even have, like if you have any legitimacy in terms of translation.
Right. Now there are better and worse ways to translate. Like again, going back to like that, the only example, the Dragon Maid one, where it's like I don't really think that's a good translation of that line in the dub.
But the reason why it's not is not like, I mean, it might stand out to people because they talk about the patriarchy. That's like a fucking thing that just like stands out in a fucking anime for people, right? Like, what the fuck are they talking about this in this show? But like the reason why it's bad is because like it's out of character. It's not really something the characters would like say in that situation.
No.
it almost like ascribes a like motivation to the character of like Luca or Lukuo.
Lukoa.
Lukoa, fuck.
Yeah, look
It describes like a motivate because like she's like, oh, like I think in Sarah's video she talks about like, oh, she could have went online and like potentially like read up like, why is everyone trying to cover me up all the time? But I think like there's a layer of like the fact that she's always getting covered up by Shota, the kid, where like her complaining about people telling her to cover up or whatever, like it adds like a layer of like spite or like you know what I mean? Like there's like a layer of like insidiousness that underneath there where she's like, oh yeah, these people keep telling me what to do. And it's like she wouldn't really have that for the show, Shota as a character. Like
Right.
she is very like understanding and very like the whole point of like her character is that not that she's like dumb, right? Is that she's like kind of like she comes off as like absent-minded because she's not really familiar with like human culture because she's like a fucking dragon that's not been on Earth for like 2,000 years or whatever the fuck. So like it's just the comedy is supposed to be from the disconnect and like, oh, why is everyone freaking out? I don't understand. Like that's where the comedy is. So that like her being self-aware and like breaking that fourth wall can be funny to people, but it's like out of character for the character. That's why it's not really good. Like
Yeah.
You're not saying like, oh, you're pushing an agenda. Like who fucking
I don't really care. I
cares?
mean, the fucking anime, we watch anyway. A lot of the times is pushing like they have some sort of political idea in a lot of cases.
Don't make my anime political.
Don't make my
Says
anime
guy
politi-
with Legend of the Galactic Heroes
Legend
in
of the
his
Galactic
name.
Heroes.
Or
Sorry.
the One Piece
Sorry,
profile
I don't
picture.
like based anime that aren't woke, like Utena.
Those people are the worst.
Oh, they're the worst.
God, do not even get me started.
I mean, we don't need to get on all that tonight. So I guess the next thing to talk about though is the fact that in this conversation, there's also been a lot of discussion about the superiority of fan subs, and there are a few things that I think need to be addressed when it comes to that. Which is the first one we've already kind of joked about. This is like I think people saying that they may be fairly new to anime and maybe don't remember like the reputation like Kami subs had.
Not
Even
just
now,
Kami,
but like
like
especially
you
like
pull up the fucking like old fucking meme image, right? With like
yeah,
nut
I'm
bladder.
scrolling through Discord trying to find it.
I had it pulled up. I have it in my fucking
All according
Like
to
a
Nick.
massive
Yeah,
translation
but
note.
we like talked about like a lot of
Sayonara
other stuff.
Zetsubo Sensei.
What happened to Sayonara Zetsubo?
Like just huge. What's it called? Translator notes.
Oh yeah. Well, again,
And that's
this
a
is
thing for a
like
lot of shows.
it's like so. I guess yeah, stuff like this.
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Also, when you get
there aren't any like slurs in this I'm gonna get like in trouble with, right?
no, there shouldn't be.
Okay.
I haven't.
Oh, no.
I haven't like.
Oh, it's also really hard to read because of how low quality it is, and with the filter on stream, I guess it works well enough. So it's like, yeah, Crunchyroll, you translate Itadakimasu as thanks for the food, where I'm going to guess that 4Kids goes for, no, which one? Yeah, oh, no, here we go. Haruna does Rub-a-Dub, thanks for the grub. Yeah, so, I mean, fan translations have been known for, like, shit posting for, like, what, 20 years now? If not more.
Yeah.
Since like the proliferation of the internet as a means to like disseminate anime, essentially, like the development of like Chan culture and general internet anime culture, fan subs have been like just doing whack shit for that whole time. So it's
really
funny
ironic.
when
Like when fan subs shit post, it's based, but when
Right.
Crunchyroll does it, it's cringe.
Yeah,
well, no,
that's
to
the thing I
be fair.
noticed. Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. Like, why are these people complaining about Giga Chad when like that would just be
Right.
something you see in a fan sub anyways?
I feel like
completely
maybe because
fair.
Crunchyroll translators get paid,
Yes.
and like there's this idea
That's a
of the fan
professional
translator.
thing. They should be held
as,
a bit
like,
more of like a professional
right.
standard. Whereas, like with the fan thing, they're given a little bit more leeway. But at the same time, then we also can't be arguing that they are just better, like at translation in all cases. They don't have this sort of memingness to them, because they certainly do in a lot of ways.
I mean, it also
So
kind
it's
of feels like an
so it either
agenda
needs to
because
be
there's
the
like
idea needs to
this
be
idea
either
that
like these translations are fan translations are objectively superior. They are more accurate to the source material, the more creatively appropriate. Or fan subs get a pass for shit posting because they aren't a professional endeavor.
I think it's important to note that like they never got a pass for shit posting until like more recently, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Like that's why this image exists, because back in the day people would be like, call me your fucking meme subs. Which since I do want to talk about this image if you want to pull this up.
Okay.
Since we're shitting on Kami, I do want to give them or Herx, I guess specifically, some props. Because what they did on the Monogatari was like a really good job, and it's an interesting comparison to make because the Crunchyroll official subs are technically more correct, right? They're more like literal translations, but this makes for an interesting comparison of the two, because like Kami went for a much more localized, took a lot more liberties thing where they like preserve the meaning, like the intent of the scene, where like, oh, she's making a pun about her knees, so like they just changed the pun to where it made more sense, like, oh, you're getting need in times of need, and so like it gets across, like it works. Like if you're watching this subtitles, you're basically getting the exact kind of experience. Like you're getting an
approximation of the wordplay in Japanese,
right? Because like if the Crunchyroll subs took like the more like literal translation approach, where they're like, to make a correlation between a kneecap, Hiza, they have the translator notes, Hiza Gashira, and right as we meet, Dai Gashira. I prefer to call my kneecaps my knee boys. He's a kozu. Like,
hold on, I gotta like scroll down. You're like going to, I can't keep up.
Like this shit would not like. I guess it's cool, you know, that they're like explaining this, where you're like, oh, okay, so she's making, that's the pun, okay, like, but a casual viewer is not getting any of this, right? Like, I haven't like studied a shit ton of Japanese. Like I know like very passing, I could watch a movie and understand like 35 to 65% of what's happening in it. But like that's like, oh, okay, that's somewhat interesting to me, just with like the very little bit I know. Like, but someone that has no interest in the language and hasn't learned anything, like they're gonna see all that and just be like, "Why the fuck am I? What? Like, why would you read this and then find this entertaining?" So like the Kami subs are much better as like an experience, because like they're preserving that same experience for an English viewer as the Japanese, but it's, you know, it's very much a good example of localization, right? Like,
yes, yeah,
they changed the puns to where it makes sense and it still maintains the general dialogue. Like, it's not changing fundamentally what's being said, but it's not like, it's not doing the literal translation that the Crunchyroll subs did. So it's like, if you want literal subs and you don't want any like localization, that's what the right is. And most people probably aren't going to be in it, but like, I imagine most casual viewers would not watch this if it was like this the entire time. Right. Whereas on the left, I imagine that that's much easier for someone to get into. Right?
Yeah, that seems definitely more palatable.
And I feel like I wanted to talk about that because it's a very interesting kind of point of comparison for like localization and like different kinds of translations. And that's a case where the professional subs took like the instance of like literal translations that people apparently advocate for, even though I don't know if they actually know what they're advocating for. Whereas the fan subs are doing the more localized approach, which I think, to me, is much better, right?
Yes,
It's much
I
more
would agree.
entertaining. And plus, like, Herx did a really good job on it. I just wanted to shout them out for that. Since we're shitting on comedy subs being meme subs anyway.
Well, I mean,
Gotta
it's not
be
like I
impartial.
dislike it or anything, but it's like where is this idea that like fan subs don't shitpost come from? Like, where is that coming from? I think it's just like
Clearly, they didn't watch fucking Cross Ange, where fucking Kami just put a cock on the middle of some fucking character.
yeah,
in OP.
that's not even going into like editing the subs. They're just drawing stuff in.
That is, yeah. That wasn't in the fucking.
I can't show that on stream, but you know you can look it up.
Like,
he just drew a little dick on the guy.
And there's like tons of fucking examples. I think Herx on Twitter actually like compiles these examples now, where like they just are pulling shit from subtitles that they're reading. And like I have like a shit ton where it's just like they use fucking buying lunches for plebs. The here's the literal fucking rub-a-dub-dub. Thanks for the grub in fucking Sasami-san. Every cell in my body is too OP for you. And then
right,
like,
yeah.
You have all these kinds of different like examples of like people just shit posting in fucking fan subs, right? Like it's not like they're always like I when I see things that are like doing really well, again, like the Kami subs here, and like even when it comes to like encoding and shit, right? Like I know the Meguka release from Madoka Magica specifically used the Italian Blu-rays because they were encoded better than like the American release of like the CV series. So like you do have examples of like fan communities doing things at a higher level than like the professionals in that same kind of sphere. Like obviously the Italians release, like it's of the same level as the fucking fan sub release, but the fan sub release is higher level than what I would be buying here for like $300 from Aniplex US, right? The Italian BDs, yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's the like people don't talk about that a lot, but the Italian like encodes are like they have like a really fucking good team that encodes these Blu-rays a lot of the time.
Yeah,
Italy loves anime.
everyone loves
Always
anime.
So my body is too OP.
Everyone. And I think it's also worth pointing out that nowadays, in the era of Crunchyroll and day one subs and day one manga translation, is that the kind of the focus. There's been like a paradigm shift over the last 20 years, when it comes to how fan subs operate, because it used to be the way it would work is that fan sub groups would actually get their subs out before like any sort of official release. Then they would distribute it online. And then when official release eventually came out, there was like a sort of, tacit agreement that they would then they would stop like disseminating their fan sub version and encourage people to instead go get the official release. Whereas, now obviously, stuff like Crunchyroll has, really maxed out in terms of speed. They're getting stuff out like within a day, maybe a day later when it comes out in Japan. So, and obviously, fan subgroups cannot, they can't compete with that really. So the role that they fill now is very different, where either they are doing, what we would say is like better translations that come out maybe like a couple months after the fact. They use the Blu-ray releases instead of like streaming releases, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or you also have groups that are, instead of translating new stuff, bringing over new stuff, they're actually like going through like all the back catalog, the stuff that's been forgotten, the stuff that's been abandoned, and giving those new translations, or applying translations to like remasters of like older things that are coming out. And I guess like the obvious example would be something like Shonen Bakusozuku. Do you remember what group did that? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. It's like on the tip of my tongue.
Oh fuck. Senritsu subs?
I will now check now.
Inca
was Inca. So it's a lot of stuff like that. Kinoko Video, of course. do all of their fantastic work. So it's a lot of stuff. Look how some of these are censored. It's a lot of stuff like this. You know, they're doing like a release of like the One Piece OVA, where I will show now limited amounts of it in order to keep this stream from being copyright claimed. And I will also now drag the damn window back. I swear to God, I keep forgetting this. So you know, it's cool. It's stuff like this. So it's fan subs. They don't really serve the same function. They're not really as prolific as they used to be in terms of like, you know, subbing like new anime very quickly, because you know they don't really need to do that anymore. They can focus on other things as a result.
Well, the dirty secret is all the fan subgroups basically now use like the Crunchyroll translations as a base for their translations.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. Yeah, if you go onto any sort of like piracy site and you see like, you know, subs there released, odds are they're using just the Crunchyroll subs essentially. Now,
well, no, you have rips. You have rips that are like subs now, subs please.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like
I see
GG, like they are just the Crunchyroll rips.
Right.
Whereas like you have fan subs that just use the Crunchyroll rips as a base.
As a base. Okay, I see what you mean.
They fix stuff.
Now, as a result, though, I mean, that you know, I think there's also an argument to be made that, you know, as a result, Crunchyroll should, you know, be more expected to deliver quality translations as a result of this. You know, they carry a little bit more responsibility in that regard. But again, I think there are a few things that need to be considered. One, Crunchyroll translators need to work fast. So they need to have that shit out like the day of, basically. And I'm not entirely sure how long they get, and, you know, how long they have the script in advance for, and how like quickly they, you know, how much time they have to work on it. But it's not a lot. And again, you know, translation is a creative act. Having quality translations takes time. I don't think anyone's going to dispute that.
No, that's why.
But then there's also,
like,
you know, also like
3 days.
There's also the matter of money, because I think, as we all know, you know, Crunchyroll does not pay their translators very well either. So it's one of those things where it's like, if you are a very talented translator, maybe you know, you don't want to, you see Crunchyroll maybe as being a little bit below your pay grade. Maybe you want to do some other work elsewhere. You know, something that will pay you a bit more fairly for your work and your talent. And, you know, I think that's also completely fair. So it's one of those things where there are structural issues when it comes to like Crunchyroll and the quality of their translations that I think generally get overlooked. And it's not really like the result of any sort of like agenda pushing or anything like that. It's just a matter of like, you need to have this done in 3 days. Do it, and you know, you just kind of like quickly breeze through it because you need to get paid. Then where was I going with that? I had another thought. Shit, fucking just rambling, and then I lost the idea. What the hell was I talking about?
Anime.
Why don't you two pick it up while I think about this? One of you three.
Well, the thing is, like, I don't think, like, when people complain about, you know, the you know, specific kind of choices, like, oh, they're pushing an agenda or whatever, like, that's a separate kind of issue from kind of like what we're talking about as far as like getting things out quickly, right? So,
yeah, well, yeah, because like you know, there's like, you can push an agenda regardless of the amount of time. But oh yeah, so I remember what I was going to say is that there are, in many cases, you know, translation issues that, you know, you're not going to be aware of them, essentially, you know, because it's not something like Nagatoro saying sus or Giga Chat or whatever, not something obvious. There may be more deep-seated issues with a translation that if you're not familiar with Japanese, you can't hear what's being said, or maybe with a manga, you don't read Japanese and you haven't read the original manga. These sorts of translation issues you may be completely oblivious to. So I think when people talk about translation in this context and translation quality, it's more so a matter of wanting an illusion of quality, essentially. They don't want to be made aware of the idea that the translation they're watching may have issues, even when it may. Again, through like no like overt fault of anyone, you know, not necessarily malicious activity or incompetence, just because, you know, it's a product of, you know, how these things are made and the, you know, the speed and scale at which they need to be produced for mass consumption.
Well, clearly they want that for political agendas too, right? Because like they complain about anime pushing an agenda, or specifically localizers pushing an agenda. But I've never heard anyone complain about like anime directors pushing an agenda.
Oh,
So, you know, Mamoru Oshii is probably the most political motherfucker in the industry.
yeah. I mean, oh fuck, you look at like I mean, I didn't really care for Japan Sinks 2020, but holy shit, that was overtly political.
But I guess like that's just so like Japan Sinks, you know, specifically is like so far removed from.
I guess, yeah, but like you watch something like Pat Labor 2, and it's like you get to that scene where they're talking about a just war versus an unjust peace, and it's like, okay,
yeah,
this is
like
very obviously political.
But I guess like people like freak out because they see like something that's not quote unquote like subtle, right? It's just like patriarchy or cultural appropriation, and it like rings alarm bells. It's like you wanted it a bit more subtle, I guess. Like,
yeah, well, the counter argument to that is that it's a matter of like the localizers, quote unquote, inserting their own politics into it instead of being representatives of the politics of the creators that whose work they're bringing over, essentially.
Right.
Which, like, even then, I would have to imagine the subtitles have to get approved by somebody to actually make it in. Like, as an editor, if I'm editing a video for Spilling the Milk, like, they're going to watch the video. Jack is going to watch the video. He's going to give me a bunch of notes, like, change this picture, do this, cut this clip.
So you don't sneak
whatever.
Like Goatsy in there, uncensored.
Exactly. You know, stuff like that, as it be. Like, this is not just about, like, I cannot edit a Spilling the Milk video and put a giant One Piece cock uncensored in the video. I would like to. It would be funny.
Very goddamn funny.
It would be funny, but that's not going to fly on YouTube.
You should be able to.
I agree.
Lex says they should make an anime about cancel culture. They did. You didn't watch Yuri Deco?
Yeah, I guess Yuri Deco, yeah. I mean, there was also that funny Digimon thing Kanaka did.
Oh no!
Remember that?
That wasn't an anime though.
That wasn't an anime. To be
drama
fair, right?
CD,
listen, I love his writing, but that man, fuck that man for doing that shit.
No, that shit was funny as hell.
No, don't corrupt the image of Digimon tamers.
Cancel culture was literally an attack.
That feel when you have to go to your radiation therapy.
Yeah, cancel culture.
Konaka's always
fucking trademark that shit right now. Registered trademark of the Weeb crew. Cancer culture, bitch. What was the other one? Oh yeah, Localizers. We're also trademarking that one.
Cancer culture.
Actually, okay, I don't like that, but I like that better than Localizers. That one's
so lame.
That's a shit. Yeah, that's a fucking lame ass term, dude.
And that's actually worse than the word mansplaining, honestly. Mansplain. Yeah, no, Localizer. I think we can all agree, regardless of what your perspective is, Localizer is the term we should be using, because
it's a better term than it's a better Localizer. Term.
Yeah, it flows off the tongue easier.
Localizer just sounds bad. Like it
just makes you sound like a complete dipshit.
It does.
It's like complaining about things being woke. Like, bruh. Look at yourself.
Look at yourself. Where the fuck? I'm trying to find, because there was oh, here we are. Well, it's funny that you brought up like quality control, because there's this. This got a little bit of traction, but it wasn't like a big kerfuffle. And oh god damn it, I can't pull up the thread because I'm not logged into Twitter. Oh well, fuck off. I guess I'll just pull up these images. Let me just open up this in like a regular window. So basically, this was these were like subtitles for Crunchyroll did for an anime called Yuzuki family's 4 sons, and there are some very, very bizarre and comical translation errors, and a lot of people were actually suspecting that this may have been an AI translation, machine translation, essentially. So yeah, because our 4 brothers lived a hand-to-mouth life. Okay, that's not grammatically incorrect, but it's weird. Although life without parents feels lonely. Is this like being shown on stream properly? There we go. But there is nothing we can do. After all, there is no resurrection. Clearly, they're not Christian. We are used to loneliness. We are used to loneliness. There's some. There's a whole thread of this. From. Let me cite my goddamn sources. This Twitter user, you can probably Yami Ray Ray at Lost Thief on Twitter. Thank you for compiling all of these for our stream enjoying pleasure. Because like, let me see here. Oh yeah, this one's really good. What you are doing is a carcinogen. What?
I have never heard that word in my life.
What you are doing is a carcinogen. I think it's like in reference to their cooking shit or something, but you would not describe something like this in English.
That is. Oh man, that's awesome.
I've only heard people say carcinogens in context to like.
You would say it's like carcinogenic,
or yeah.
Yeah, you only describe like cigarettes as like a carcinogen.
What the
fuck?
Yeah, you wouldn't. Yeah,
come back.
Yeah, you wouldn't actually describe an action as a carcinogen.
Yeah, no, yeah.
You're doing is a carcinogen.
Yeah,
the carcinogen is a noun.
I think we should clarify the difference in machine translation and AI translation.
Okay.
Because there is
real quick, we have to address what will be lunch today, Moomy.
What will be lunch today?
Hopefully you die.
Die.
You will be lunch today.
On this stream of the Weeb Crew, cannibalism.
Why does that sound? It look like the fucking the chick from Promised Neverland, Emma.
Yeah,
just me.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
I can see it, yeah. She also looks like the. He also looks like the girl from Amama to Inazuma, whatever it was. Sweetness
should be an anime called Localizers.
Kind of look like the guy from Haikyuu.
This is
what I did to your mom last night.
This is the prequel crossover to Haikyuu, and it's free because that's Haru on the left and.
So you were saying about the difference between
anime universe.
You're talking about the difference between machine translation and AI translation.
Yeah, so machine translation is just like fucking a translator, right? Like fucking Google Translate or something, where you just put in the thing.
And I think they're incorporating AI into that more and more. I'm not actually. So I think it's a matter of like how like the translators like are refined essentially in terms of like data. Where like AI is using like deep learning techniques, machine translation, and probably using some other algorithm.
Well, so the thing with like AI is like it's doing kind of the same thing as like AI images, where it's taking a large sample of translations.
Right.
So it's taking like when these characters are in this order, what is usually the translation or how is it usually translated? It references all of those translations. And so part of what people are kind of talking about is like, oh, they're using like other people's translations because there's a bunch of translations that are in that database.
That would be interesting because, well, I guess that kind of also then brings us around to the question of, well, what if the data set that they're using for this AI is using, these woke localized translations? Well, then won't the AI just be giving you that same thing essentially? And it's worth pointing out, by the way, I don't necessarily agree with the use of AI to translate the Magus Bride manga. But to be completely fair, it's not just all right. The AI did it, ship it out. There are still people who are going through and checking it in order to make sure that like what will be lunch today does not happen.
Well, the thing is, like, Chat GPT, was it 4 now that we're on? 5?
I have no idea. Is it going to kill us yet?
It's actually pretty accurate when it comes to translations. It kind of stumbles a little bit from what I've seen with like some really more advanced stuff. But like really where it's at is not terrible.
I mean, I will say that I definitely can see that AI becoming more used when it comes to translating things on an industrial scale for stuff like Crunchyroll, like Viz, simply because it's more profitable and you can get it out faster.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is like it's almost like inevitable at this point. That's where translation and stuff is going.
Right.
You have translators and localizers now that are like kind of already being told like, yeah, you should probably start working with AI stuff because that's probably going to be a tool that you're going to be forced to work with in the near future, not the distant future.
Which, by the way, I would like to say that like if you are a translator for like manga or anime professionally or as a hobby, welcome to come on our podcast.
Yes.
Talk about it.
Lex says,
I don't know why I made that sound so insidious.
The problem with AI is they can't ever actually understand language, so it is really well at common phrases it's heard before, but someone saying something new doesn't know what to do.
I guess there's also a question of for this manga, for these anime, what information is the AI actually being given? Its odds are just going to be like the actual lines themselves. So if there's something that is a matter of visual context, something being referenced and maybe not as explicitly mentioned, how is an AI going to account for that, essentially?
Again, I want to refer to Sarah Moon's video on her second channel.
Okay.
Because she actually took a passage from a light novel and
what
had
video?
ChatGPT translate it. I'm pulling it up for you.
I'll just type in ChatGPT. Oh no, that's Moon. That's not the one. Sarah Moon Japanese is the second channel.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. I had ChatGPT translate a Japanese light novel to English.
Yep, that's it.
Wow, that is the least clickbait title I've ever heard in my life.
So
that's why she's the greatest.
Took the like a passage and like had kind of novice translators, like people that are kind of learning the language, and kind of compared it to like her translation when she was younger in this video. And it's really interesting because she kind of goes into it like you can coach the AI to be like, if you want to put a percentage to it, like 90% accurate. Really, it's not technically incorrect when it's in its inaccuracies. It's not like it's translating things incorrectly, like completely. It typically is just like failing to understand context, stuff that you have to like kind of coach it a little bit, to where it can kind of give that kind of characterization, or at least is informed to be able to know to have to give characterization, I guess. And like, it's funny in the video, she does it like, it kind of just starts making shit up to kind of character, like, oh, the girl like shuffles her feet or some shit. Like, it's just like, what the fuck? That wasn't
Japanese is a very contextual language. I was talking to Koran Shabu last night, and they were talking about like living in Japan and reading Japanese and stuff, and they're struggling because you have to be like hyper aware of just everything going on, like the setting, situation, the kind of people talking.
That's why like the AI translation is it's important to kind of make that distinction, because AI is much better about the context because it is looking at other translations, because it's able to see like, oh, these words kind of together have resulted in this translation, and so that kind of is able to pick up that context better than a machine translation, which is literally just translating the word to word, and it's missing context. So it's definitely it's like it's better. It's not perfect. But that's because people will
Yeah,
get up in arms,
yeah,
like the fucking
Starlight
AI
Veronica
bros or
points
whatever.
out that I don't think AI will do a good job capturing character nuance. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to say that like AI is going to be better at translating Japanese to English than people. I mean, maybe after some point it will like get to that point. When that'll happen, I don't know. I don't know a crystal ball. I'm not in computer science. I don't pay attention to this shit. But I think what's important to note is that for a company, if I'm like the executive, I'm the CEO of Crunchyroll, my mentality is it needs to just be good enough, essentially, where people won't necessarily get noticed or get super mad, and we can do it at a lower cost and we can do it faster. And that's the sort of, so I think that's the reason. Not necessarily that it's like superior in terms of like artistic integrity, translation quality, anything like that, but from an economic standpoint, from a business standpoint, I can definitely see the sort of rationale for why it may be a smart decision. And I think that will probably be if the industry does move in that direction in the future. It won't be for any sort of like politics. It won't be for any sort of like AI is the future or anything like that. It will be for money.
It's kind of ironic because like the people that are like kind of on the other side of the culture war thing for this AI shit, right? They're kind of the one like they're usually newer and they don't fully understand this shit. So they're like, "Oh, stop people pushing like these woke localizers are ruining our translations, blah blah blah, whatever the fuck." They don't quite understand like when initially when this transfer happens, the immediate translations are going to be markedly worse, which if you're been around for a while is not going to be the worst thing in the world for you, because like I'm just anecdotally, right? I'm used to like finding a fucking short that's not translated that I really just wanted to watch, and I like fucking take Google Translate and like if it's got text.
We've seen enough anime not to be like, oh, we know Japanese, we watch anime. But we can, we're at least a little bit better in terms of like picking up certain words or phrases or inferring context clues in order to like understand what may actually be going on if the like, the translation is different or, maybe just not that good.
Right. Like people that are newer that are just like watching My Hero Academia are not going to be able to do that. And so they're going to get a noticeably worse product that's going to be harder for them to get into because it's going to be very choppy in the dialogue. Like we were seeing with the fucking translation with the fucking carcinogens, like the Four Brothers, or whatever the fuck. Like that's going to be probably what it's going to be like at first.
Yeah.
Like closer to that. And it's going to be like, it's just going to be like harder for them to watch as like a quote unquote casual than someone that's used to having to like watch shit in a scuffed way already.
Yeah.
Like if you want to watch it, we just are like, okay, we'll just
fuck it. I'll turn on like the YouTube like auto subs and like fuck it. All right, I'll try and make do to watch this. But I don't know. If it becomes like generally better, I'm not going to complain about that from a consumer's perspective necessarily, because there's like going to be like there's a lot of anime, especially independently made anime on YouTube that have no sort of like official translations. So all you have to, all you really have is clicking the little CC thing down here or like going to like auto translate and picking like English. And
which even that isn't always available.
Yeah. No. But if that ends up, being something that can at least deliver something better in terms of as a result of AI, I think that would still be a good thing. Yeah, I think we've now gotten all of our arguments into place. Do we want to do the blood sports now?
Yeah. People that are talking about this fucking like the Asmongold shit, like y'all are fucking tourists, for fuck's sake.
Fucking tourists. I mean, it kind of really feels that way because like back in, I mean, I remember back in like the Gamergate stuff, back in 2016, you know, where it was like I was never really involved in Gamergate for like quick disclaimer, but I was always like aware of it on like the periphery, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's one of those things where it's like people complain about with like comic books or whatever, where it's like these like, you know, woke liberals, SJWs come in and they, you know, start participating in the fandom and they start demanding all these changes be made and stuff. And it's like, I feel like we're kind of also starting to see that now with anime, but on like the other end of things where it's now like, you know, everything needs to be politicized. Everything needs to be like a contentious hot topic. Because, you know, even if these people aren't necessarily that involved or invested in anime and the anime community and studying anime, learning about it, they're still going to start making like a lot of like a big stink about things whenever like, you know, maybe something in anime doesn't necessarily like, there was that Stars Align anime a few years back, if you guys remember that. And I remember, from what I understand, it features a trans character in it, and a lot of people were like celebrating that it didn't get like a second season or anything because I'm just completely blunt about it. Transphobia. Let's be, you know, completely real.
Jesus Christ. I didn't even hear about this.
Yeah. I mean, this is like stuff that you'd see on like, really like really shitty websites. Some aren't even around anymore. I'm trying to even remember like, oh, it was like a One Angry Gamer. I think that was the site I was reading that was saying shit like this. One Angry Gamer is defunct now. Fuck that website. But, you know, that guy's not an anime fan. He's just like, you know, hopping on this and trying to insert some political bullshit about the fact that the anime didn't make any money because there was a trans character in it and go woke, go broke. And it's like, my brother in Christ, do you have any sources on that? And I think you're seeing something similar here where people are now trying to take this like whole like AI debacle with localization and they're turning it into a political issue where it's a matter of, you know, Japan is standing up to these woke liberals trying to encroach on anime. And it's like, okay, what's your source for that though? Like, do you have any evidence that that's the case? It reminds me of, do you guys remember Anime Log?
No.
Anime Log is a YouTube channel. That the idea was basically that they it was a Japanese channel with a lot of anime on it, and the idea was basically that I'm gonna put up a lot of anime on here that's freely available to watch all around the world. And I remember certain like sources and like YouTubers that talk about shit like this basically reported the story as being like Japan is standing up to Crunchyroll and the stuff and all this shit. And I think it was Canifa, may he rest in peace now, who had like a thread basically talking about this and being like, yeah, those people like have no idea what they're talking about. They're just lying because you go to this YouTube channel. This is clearly not meant to be competing with like the likes of like Crunchyroll. You know, they're not putting like Dragon Ball or like the latest seasonals on here. They're putting like older, like a lot of like World Masterpiece Theater and like other stuff from like the like 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s that, you know, it wouldn't make sense to have Crunchyroll license them because there's no like clear profit incentive to distribute them.
Right.
But nevertheless, people still tried to politicize it as being like Japan is standing up to the woke scourge, and it's like, can you fuck off?
I wanna get up on a soapbox about this real quick. Okay.
Okay.
If you're making this fucking political, you're a fucking idiot. Like,
yeah,
I want to be.
It's so like, ironic too. Sorry to cut you off, but like the kind of people complaining about like woke translations, whatever, are like the most ignorantly political people I've ever seen on this planet.
I want to be as like charitable as possible. And be like, maybe I can understand, you know, you see this shit and it's just like something you don't agree with. Like if you were forced to look at something you like fervently disagreed with, I could see how it would be annoying or whatever. Like me being as charitable as possible, right? Whatever. But this political, like the whole fucking like, this is politicized. This like whole this fucking idea that this is a political
guy,
fucking issue.
This motherfucker. Asmongold exposes woke localizers of manga and anime. Plus, Japan rejects agenda, and it's like,
This
what the
is
fuck
not
are you talking
a
about?
fucking political. Like, okay, people there have been some like quote unquote political things in translations. Fine, no one's denying that kind of shit. Like,
No.
fucking pull up Dragon Maid and its fucking patriarchy thing. Fine, that is there. That's like 7 years old, but that's what everyone fucking talks about every single goddamn time someone's
Yep.
talking about this shit. No one can ever talk about anything fucking else. It's like, sure,
Yeah, I
that
don't
fucking
get it.
sucked.
Like, it's fucking 7 years old and it's a dub.
They probably don't have any other like examples either, which is
Well, they
why
don't
they keep
watch.
pulling.
That's the thing. They do not watch fucking anime. They're fucking tourists. So that's the only thing that blew up to the point that they actually heard about it, and it's
Right.
fine. Like, no one expects you to be so deep into the shit. But the thing that like really bugs me about this shit is like, this is so. For some context, I spent a lot of time in the early 2010s on 4chan, right? So it's a cultural thing on there to be very wary of, like, or it was at one point. I don't know about anymore. Sometimes you'll see people commenting on it. To be very wary of the fact that it's an anonymous site, right? So anybody can post fucking anything. You'd have a lot of people that would like post shit to try and like force some kind of fucking agenda. Like, if they wanted to say like this show is fucking garbage or whatever, they would make a bunch of threads and like kind of brigade and be like, oh yeah, this show is bad.
Yeah.
They would try to like sway opinions. That's the kind of thing that people would be very like wary of at the time. So when I say that, like, this is thinking that this is trying to make this a political thing where like and this is like even criticizing people that like try to take up for it as a political thing. Like, these fucking corporations and shit, they're not your fucking friend. They're not your fucking ally. Like, why are you fucking taking up for their fucking political? Like, I think we looked it up. The first instance, I think, of someone talking about the Dragon Maid dub was on fucking Reddit.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, are we gonna get into our conspiracy theory now?
Oh, no, we're getting into this fucking shit. Because, like, every time I see this shit, to me, it seems so fucking obvious that it's, like, because, like, I'm so fucking, like, jaded,
it seems
I guess.
it seems like they're intentionally fucking with people to get a react. They're trolling, basically.
Essentially. So, like, okay, it's a very common thing in, like, marketing and stuff to put, like, I saw an example of this relatively recently. Like, I think it's been like a year ago.
It's
now.
basically the equivalent of making a YouTube video and just putting one obviously incorrect statement in there, and then everyone will comment about it, and that boosts your engagement.
The lowest brain version of that is just like when people misspelled something in the title, and then everyone come in, it spelled this. Like, that's
how appropriate that we're not, we talk about this Dragon Maid thing starting on Reddit. It really makes you think.
Yeah. So like, then like, this is something that happens in like big corporations all the fuck. This is something they always think about. They're thinking about this exponentially more than the average person is, right? Like, I saw some fucking image from fucking Fox Sports or some shit about a fucking football stat, and they put I think it was fucking Kurt Warner or something on there. Like, no one fucking gives a shit who that is, but they put that guy on there like twice, and they put the wrong date on there at like number 10 or something. And I look at the comments, literally every fucking comment is, you put Kurt Warner as playing in the 60s, he played it. It's like nobody can fucking help themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what this shit is, right? These people are put, like, I'm not gonna say Jamie Markey put that shit in there for specifically purely like marketing purpose, like outrage merchant bullshit, right? She probably thought it was funny or whatever the fuck. But at some point, that company is like, how do we market our thing? Oh, let's bring up some fucking outrage, I guess. So let's
cast the net, all right? So we'll put in a line about the patriarchy. And then we'll also do like this sort of like we'll kind of like downplay the gayer aspects of Dragon Maid, and let's see who we can upset the most in order to drive up our profit margins.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of these motherfuckers who are like, dunking on anime adaptations, like comparing it to the manga, and they'll like take a frame from the anime, like zoom in on some background character, and then compare it to like a two spread or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
But like that's
like the My
not
Hero
how you're
Academia guys.
consuming the anime. You're watching the anime. It's 24 minutes or however long it is. You're just watching it and enjoying it. This fucking shit with pretty much every single like anytime that people decide to get outraged about a single fucking line, one line in a show, it's the exact same thing to me, because like I watched Dragon Maid in English. I fucking love the dub of Dragon Maid. I noticed those two lines, like the one fucking line about the patriarchy or whatever, and I was like, huh, that's a bit odd. Okay, whatever. Next line.
That's
This show is good again.
I heard Kana say cuckold, and I'm like, I'm out.
No, but like it's good. It is very faithful to the characters. And like the performances are just amazing. Like it's a good ass performance. It's a good dub. But no one fucking watches it. Just like how manga fans don't actually watch like the new Berserk. Or whatever.
What I will say is my boy Chibi here. My boy Chibi actually reporting on the facts, because he's Japanese companies are firing translators and using AI translations going forward to combat piracy. From what I understand, from what I've read, combating piracy is the public like facing reasoning behind this. It's not any sort of woke BS. It's nothing like that. It's to combat piracy.
Yeah, that's it's literally like they're using AI shit. It doesn't care about they don't care about the sanctity of the translation and the vision of the fucking manga cover. It doesn't fucking. It's all about just like lowering profit, like increasing your profit margin, lowering your overhead.
Line go up.
Your line go up. That's the thing. All these companies, that's all that they give a shit about is line go up. So like. If you're making this a political thing where it's like you're against the company because politics, you want line go down, or fucking you're supporting this company because you think that they're your friend or whatever. These companies are not your friend. They're fucking companies. They want the line to go up. And so whenever I see this shit, I'm like, all I think about is like, how is their line going up with this or whatever? So the whole fucking bullshit with the fucking Dragon Maid dub, it's like, gee, who's going to watch that? Probably not the people that are going to complain about it. So how do you get the people to complain about it? Well, you post it somewhere that they'll complain about it, like Reddit and 4chan, places that you can post stuff anonymously and sit there and spread it and brigade it or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and get people to, oh my god, this is why I don't watch fucking dubs. It's like, well, you didn't fucking watch it. So who like...
How do
you only know about this because some fucking viral marketing bullshit that they're doing? Like, it's so like, it just bugs the shit out of me when I see people like make this a fucking. It's like, it's not a fucking political thing. It's fucking just shit translation. Like what if that's what you would call it? Just focus on that. Like why do we have to fucking? If people didn't fucking get up in arms about this shit every single fucking time this stuff happens, it wouldn't be as big of an issue.
Right. But like, how does a worse translation combat piracy? Like I said, I don't think the quality is necessarily how they're going to be doing it. I think it mostly has to do with like speed, essentially. Now, how does that really work when they're already getting these translations out generally faster than fan translations? I have no idea. But again, like I said, it's just a publicly facing. Can someone translate this to woke, please? Made me think of in Minecraft, they have like some like funny languages in there, like pirate. You can translate Minecraft to, you can use like the pirate language in Minecraft. I'm just thinking like, what if they added like a woke one? I've got my non-binary pickaxe, you know, my
that seems like that'd be a dangerous
I got my
thing.
My critical theory enchanted armor, you know, I'm ready to go fight the MAGA Ender Dragon. I don't know. Someone should make that though. It sounds so stupid.
You could do that, and like you can make it where like it translated like slurs into something like safe, and then one day just turn it off.
Tucker Carlson would nuke Moshe. So I need to see the woke Minecraft translation mod now. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Trade with the they them pronoun traders.
So yeah, all these fucking people that are grifting this shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Get your bag.
And they really
I
hate
guess.
this woman in particular,
Fucking-
the woman with the red hair, Twitter, Katrina. Which I don't know.
Katrina's awesome. I love Katrina.
Yeah, if you're watching this, want to come on our podcast, you're more than welcome. We would probably enjoy having you and just talking about. We don't even talk about this shit, honestly. But yeah, do we want to do the blood sport thing where, because like I said, we've said most of what we want to say. Do we want to now just go through all this bullshit, or not all of it? We can go through just some of it, because I mean, in these videos are only 11, 12. This one's 20 minutes long. Jesus Christ. We're not gonna watch. We don't need to watch them all the way through.
Yeah,
but
we'll skim some. Why not?
So let's go with Mr. Endymion here, who fun fact about this channel, anyone some of you may know, is that take a look at this channel now and it's Jesus Christ, wow, they are cranking out videos too. These
All
thumbnails are Garrett. That's another thing we'll see is these thumbnails. You think our thumbnails are bad? We're at least doing it tongue in cheek. I think these are meant to be genuine. It's gay. End. Gay. Wow, the gay's on here a lot. Men are bad. She is mad. But you scroll far back enough on this channel. It may actually need to be a while now. This used to be a Dark Souls Elden Ring lore channel. And these videos
makes a lot of
still
sense,
up.
because a lot of Dark Souls fans I see are exactly like this, the bad ending of the right wing.
Just
gotta be real.
Remember Vadi Vidya started doing, or Zuli the Witch, just hard transition into culture war shit, and it's what the fuck?
Zuli the Witches. Have you watched his, that stuff?
Zuli doesn't even have any narration in her videos.
Well, it's funny when they do ad reads and they have just the text on screen for World of Tanks or some shit.
So that's what this channel is, and I just think it's really funny because they kind of quickly figured out, this culture war stuff pulls a lot of views, and I start talking about Henry Cavill and The Witcher and stuff. So it's we'll go with that. Racist. Ruin.
I love that God of War, just racist.
It makes me think of Pause and Select's movie reviews.
No, it's
where
literally
the thumbnail
that.
is just
it's
racism.
The same gimmick, basically. Well, yeah, I don't know. Let's fucking check out this video. My bet is it's going to. I've seen a lot of these guys' videos. My bet is it's going to say nothing.
I would check and make sure there's no copyright thing on the.
Oh yeah, I guess we can hit that. I think we're clear. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. No sources are cited.
This guy sounds like AI.
Bounding into comics.
Oh no. All right. Well, yeah, that's the source. A lot of these, by the way, are very incestuous because a lot of these videos also just amount to. We may even see some of these videos. They just read a news article from a website like Bounding into Comics or Niche Gamer or the like.
Well, this also highlights a fucking problem where they're sucking translators are not a monolith.
No.
Again,
no, really not.
Has there been a fucking problem with the fucking Magus Bride translations? Have people been inserting some woke agenda to translations?
I don't think they have. If anyone in chat, if anyone watching this is follows this more closely and is aware of any of these issues, so that maybe we're oblivious to them, let us know. But as far as I'm aware,
can't hear the video.
Oh, right. Okay, there's no video. Okay. Sorry. I will fix that.
I need to take a piss real quick too.
Like if you
Okay,
if you
no need
fucking
to-
like like it's not a monolith, right? Like the people that are translating fucking Magus Bride are not the same people that are translating the fucking dub of fucking
Right. Oh
Dragon
yeah.
Maid. You can't be like, oh, look at this hypocrisy. They're talking about disrespect for the substance of the original text. Well, look at Dragon Maid. The fuck?
Yeah, I don't.
Like,
Yeah, it's
that's
yeah. There's
7
like
years
there's a
ago.
leap in logic there. But it's, yeah, we can't paint like all manga translators as like a monolith. Like I guarantee you. I don't know if anyone here and anyone in chat, maybe you are. You're familiar with Ryan Holmberg. Cool guy. I recommend following him on Instagram. He makes a lot of very interesting posts, but he focuses mostly on translating like older, lesser known manga. A lot of stuff from Garo, that publication. I guarantee you, if you like explain any of this to him, he'd probably just be like, "What?" Because he's probably like so like he's probably like very like insulated and has no awareness of any of this bullshit essentially. So yeah, I don't know where we get this idea of like painting like anime and manga translators as a monolith. Also, by the way, these translations, the things that we're discussing, they're only the English translations as well. Whereas we know that Crunchyroll translates stuff into other languages besides English. So if Crunchyroll, the corporation, the woke corporation of Crunchyroll had an agenda, wouldn't we also expect to see that agenda pushing in other languages as well? But we don't talk about that at all.
Such disrespect for the substance of the original text is saddening. So, the gist of what's happening here is obviously it's very evident that manga is exploding in popularity. It's completely eclipsed the American comic book industry and has easily become the new de facto form of comic book graphic novel entertainment today. And due to this popularity, Japanese companies
That is kind of true. That is kind of weird.
It is, yeah. It's been really interesting to go to Barnes & Noble over the past 10 years and see like a tumor, the manga section just grow and grow and grow.
They have like 30,000 volumes of fucking Chainsaw Man.
It's a massive part of the store now. There's a video. I'll pull this up real quick in case anyone wants to check this out later. But I think there's a good video talking about how manga basically saved Barnes and Noble.
Gomi-san?
Yeah, was it from Gomi-san?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, this video right here. Check this out. It's very interesting.
Check out Gomi-san's channel. They got a good channel.
Yeah, they got a good channel.
Post the link.
But let's go back to more bad.
Stories translated faster so readers outside of Japan can read them. Most of this is being done so quickly largely to counter the massive amounts of piracy that plagues the manga market. And these pirated versions of these stories oftentimes use unlicensed translations. But again, because of this, these Japanese companies are losing a lot of money. So naturally, they want to get their stuff out there as quickly as possible.
Well, that's also debatable.
Demand and
okay, these are all.
I don't think piracy. I mean, I guess the argument is like they could eventually distribute their own translation and like charge.
There are
people
some
for it.
statistics regarding how much the manga industry loses to piracy, but I also don't know if those statistics are focusing just on Japan, or if they're focusing just on, or they're focusing on the international market as well, or only the international market.
To begin with, it's mostly opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's mainly the main like logic of piracy claims of loss of profit, is like the idea that you are going to we're losing profit because we're losing the hypothetical money we could have made via legitimate means.
Yeah, basically.
Well, that was the argument for like fucking Napster, but like they tried fucking suing them for like obscene amounts of money, as if like that many people were actually gonna fucking
Disney and or Marvel made that claim like a couple of years ago too. Like, oh, this is how much money we lost because of piracy. And it's like, well, you didn't lose that money. That wasn't money you made then lost. That's money you hypothetically could have made.
People reporting these statistics are the corporations themselves, and obviously they have a vested interest to inflate those numbers. So how reliable they are is also suspect. But that's a whole other topic we can get into in some other time.
Yeah.
Are you
Sorry,
telling
turn
me
on subtitles.
the guys who don't care about ethics, the guys who care about ethics in video games, don't care about ethics in their reporting? Wow, crazy.
Which I totally understand. Also, piracy isn't cool. Just buy what you love, or don't complain when the stories you enjoy suddenly
Nah,
stop
fuck you,
because you're
piracy's
not
cool.
willing to support it.
Piracy's
But
fucking epic, dude.
Weeb Crew doesn't support piracy.
we do not condone
I
piracy.
support
please.
piracy.
No, you do not.
YellowFlash here is not part of the Weeb
She
Crew.
wrote
dude.
books
He is not part of the Weeb Crew.
publication
We do not
company
condone his views.
decided in order to meet the demand of Western audiences, they would use a dual approach of AI translations and human editors as well. This pissed off a lot of localizers of these sorts of books, who mistakenly took it as Japanese companies are removing the human element and instead focusing on AI completely, but this isn't true. What these companies want to do is use AI to translate their books, and then once that's done, a human editor would comb through the translation.
Why does this part come up more?
Oh, the problem is like,
I turned my
I mean, it's a problem that we're falling into a bit too. But he's like painting a straw man essentially, right? Where he's like, "Oh, this is what they're upset about," and it's like debatable.
Debatable.
I don't know if necessarily they are upset about the fact that they're removing the human element altogether. I think they're upset that they are automating it to a point that's going to like hurt quality overall.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, this tweet from the most hated woman on the internet, Katrina Leonidakis. I'm sorry if I fucked your name up. I don't have words for how embarrassing and disappointing this is. Instead of paying a human to do a quality job, they're using AI to get a mediocre product for free. This is how little they think of English-speaking audiences, of translation. For shame. Who the fuck says for shame anymore?
Katrina.
Well, I mean, she probably is like 30, 40 something.
I would say that.
Yeah, you're old.
Lol. I love Katrina. She's awesome.
Western localizer. Yes, I don't know.
Even
Okay, here we go.
Called, and internationally. The ancient Magus bride has also continuously suffered from such damages. Initiatives like the one we are undertaking now have been proven effective in reducing piracy damage as demonstrated by precedent cases with Shueisha's works. Finally, regarding books produced and licensed officially by foreign publishers.
Again, I don't like that this like the. It's fine that when like your like source is like a tweet, but I feel like you should still like cite your sources in like a way that's like it can easily find them still, because you just say like this is from this is an official comment from Bushi Road, and it's like it's on their Twitter. I'm like, I got to comb through their Twitter in order to fucking find it.
They will continue to be considered, and if conditions are met,
trust me, bro.
Will proceed as before.
Don't look into it. Just take my word.
Thank you. End quote. So now that I've laid out the
sources are woke.
Of AI versus translators for you, what's the controversy? Well, it turns out that Katrina Localizer lady and others like her have not been doing their jobs correctly, to put it lightly. It turns out what a lot of these Western localizers are doing isn't just translating the works from Japan, but instead injecting their own personal politics and terms into these stories.
Shut up.
Why is this relevant now? You've already outlined the issue as being a matter of like trying to combat piracy. Why are we now talking about like agenda pushing?
You guys are such weenies.
He's pushing an agenda in his anti-agenda pushing video.
True.
Translator Katrina, long last name person, was ousted last year for this very
long last name person.
Okay, you're making it okay. It's one thing for me on stream to be like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your last name. You could have easily figured this out making a video.
You could have looked it up, dude.
Yeah. This guy already fucking sounds like AI. Like he's just like he got his fucking script from ChatGPT and he's just like live reading it in one take.
Of a manga her colleague was tasked with was translating
fucking clown
called I Think I Turned My Childhood Friend Into a Girl, and they took that story
based?
and they retrofitted it to make the story be about a transgender character, even though that is not what the creator intended for it to be. Katrina and this other translator who helped providing this story for English readers
How do you know?
decided to double
Yeah,
down
source.
and say that what they were doing
Did
was
you read
morally
this?
right, and that making the story be a trans coming of age story was correct. But again, that's not what the creator of the manga intended for it to be about. Katrina would then say,
How do you know?
I know the
That's
translator and they've done
literally
their homework on this series. Reading future volumes and
turned her
consulting
into a
with
girl.
trans
Isn't that
people
just
and working hard to make
transitioning?
sure it's
I
as
mean, I don't
accurate as
like. I don't
possible.
even necessarily
Shame on
like.
those listening.
Just like that could potentially be the case that that's not what the author intended. That's fine, but like,
Yeah,
how do
need a
you
source
know?
for that? Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
are you? What are you basing? Like, can you give a source for like the author saying that?
Well, I mean,
Right.
he's obviously a very big fan. He's, read all of it. He's read up on
Oh yeah,
all
a
of
lot of
the
people. A lot of people
interviews.
who are upset about this. Very big, like BL fans, BL manga fans.
That's the thing. Like, these people, like, they don't fucking watch. They don't consume this shit. Like,
Yeah.
they talk about like, oh, the localizers aren't fans. It's like, well, at least they're fucking like having to watch the shit that they're translating. Like,
Yeah,
what the
so
fuck
they're
have
probably
you
bigger fans than
watched?
you, and you see, it's a matter of like stay in your lane, fucker.
Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know, dude. Like, it's just like what, like, complain if you want to complain. Like, okay, Kobayashi was like relatively popular. If you want to complain that you loved the fucking subtitled version of Kobayashi when you watched it, and then you're like upset that they changed Luca's character, like, okay, that's one degree of separation or whatever. Fuck. This is like you didn't even fucking you don't know what this fucking manga is. Like, you can at least like read it and be like, well, why did they decide they were gonna do this or what? Like, there's not any kind of like mediation or like grace.
There's
or
no
trying to, like,
time moving. We
understand
got to
what's
get this
happening.
out. All right, we can't have like a nuanced opinion on this. We got to get this story out today. This is journalism in the modern day. Speed is
Gotta
the
get the
name of the
views.
game.
The ironic thing is the whole fucking Gamergate thing supposedly started because it was like
Of
about
like ethics in
media
journalism
ethics.
or whatever.
Yeah, because like she fucking had this personal relationship with all
No,
these
that
people.
was all. That was all just Fugazi. That never mattered.
Now we're just like in the era of just like sensationalist on both sides, I guess. Fine, whatever.
I mean, when has that not been the case?
Never.
Also, I think at one point they implied that Katrina in this video they imply that Katrina worked on like the translation of this themselves, and I'm not seeing anything.
That's
I think
another
they just
thing
said that
about
they know the translator. I don't know if they've actually worked on it.
That's another thing about translators. A lot of the time, we don't actually know like who did it.
Hmm.
Like they're very hidden.
Well,
Sometimes
there's also NDAs
they like
too.
come out and
Oh,
is
yeah.
like, yeah, I worked on this show, but like, at least talking to Shabes, I'm pretty sure there's like a lot of contractual stuff that says you're not really allowed to talk about some shows. I believe Sarah has talked about it before.
Hmm.
Like, oh, I'm working on an upcoming seasonal. I can't say what it is though, which I think is a little unfortunate. I think those translators and writers should get a lot more credit.
I remember saying something similar to like Onima as well, where it was like a matter of like, is this a trans story or not? And people were like, well, that's not, it's not the manga's original intention. And then I think it came out that it was. So it's like, it'd be very funny. I think if what were we talking about? If Safi-Bari-kun came out today, I would love to see the discourse for a Hibari-kun remake. Let's see what happens there. It'd probably make me want to like, yeah.
I mean, I feel like you already see like quite a bit of that because Hibari's popular.
It is. It is. It's growing in popularity, certainly.
And trashing it, I fully support this translator. Writing off what was an extremely complex and well-researched localization decision as transing a character for no reason is absolutely ridiculous and is 100% something TERFs and the right would write for some birdside cloud. Shame on you, be better. And even back then, this was frowned upon because, again, Katrina and others like her are not accurately translating stories for Western audiences. They're taking the
How do you
work,
know?
and then they're
You're
How
not
so?
accurately
within them.
delivering this
What are you-
news
what-
to the
And
people.
it turns out
Shut the
this has been
fuck up,
happening for a
idiot.
while, so let's go back to 2021 for a second. Take my hand and get in the DeLorean. We ride dear viewer to this article titled
Okay.
Funimation inserts references to non-binary identities into
Do you have any other sources besides bounding into comics, please? Like any other? I
Like
guess maybe that's the thing.
show?
It's like maybe it's one of those things where you don't cite your sources because you don't want everyone to see that you're just using one thing as like the same source over and over and over again.
the English dub of Skate the Infinity. During the episode, one of the
Oh, this is gonna be one line. This is going to be one line.
Looking at the crowd, all you fools who love skateboarding. Okay, so that's what this character says in Japanese. So what did the translators
Okay.
do to this line? Well, in the English dub,
No
Apple
context
Authority
around that
says,
one line.
Hey bitches and bros and non-binary hoes. So this line alone here was changed to something completely different while also ensuring that it pandered as well, but it doesn't end there, fellas. Here's another
How's that pandering? What do you mean? What do you mean by pandering? Pandering to whom? All you fools who love skateboarding. What did they say? What did he say in Japanese?
Don't question it. Just take it. You know, that's a
We
100%.
don't need to put on our
perfect
critical thinking
translation.
caps. We don't have time for that. This video has to be out. Asmongold just talked about this. It's important.
Okay, I guess with that I can be somewhat fair, like ignoring the oh it's pandering because the fucking non-binary thing, like the whole you can definitely make the argument that changing, you know, him calling them fools or whatever, because it's probably like a standard, just like because he's voiced by Dio, right? Like, so he's probably got
Yeah.
that same kind of like you're beneath me kind of bullshit.
Right.
Changing that to bitches and hoes or whatever is kind of cringe. Again,
Maybe
we
he's not
talked about
voiced.
this
He's not
earlier.
voiced by Takahita Kayasu in the dub.
No, but I'm saying like that probably is not
Yeah, I think it's kind of
translating-
in line with his character because that character is also perpetually just trying to fuck one of the main boys for the entirety of the show.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really get the read of the like that I would like fucking I would think that they would translate his line to bitches and hoes. I mean, it's not the worst fucking thing in the world. I'm not gonna fucking like shit my pants over it.
No, again, by the way, it's one line
Again, yeah, one line.
in a show that's a single core. So we're talking like 4.5 hours worth of content, and however, probably like thousands of lines of dialogue that have been translated. It's one line. Are there any other problems?
and bros and non-binary hoes. So this line alone here was changed to something completely different while also ensuring that it pandered as well, but it doesn't end there, fellas. Here's another Twitter user who
See, if you were a
localizes
left-leaning,
mangas where they said, I've had to take
Grifter
matters into
channel.
my own hands with some pretty sexist jokes, not even coming from villains or characters already set up as terrible. And I don't regret it. It is a lot of text is written by 50-year-old men, and you get some dust in there, it helps no one to keep it. This then led to a very
Who's
localized
this?
mangas where they said, oh, but it doesn't end there, fellas. Here's another Twitter user who localizes mangas where they said, I've had to take matters into my own hands with some pretty
Okay, it's not new. Are we gonna get any examples? What are they worked on? What have they done?
sexist jokes, not even coming from villains or characters already set up as terrible. And I don't regret it. It is a lot of text is written by 50-year-old men, and you get some dust in there, it helps no one to keep it. This then led to a very interesting Twitter exchange which reads, that's not your job though. You're not the author. That's quite literally the job of localization. The majority of the audience doesn't enjoy sexist jokes. That's again, not your job. Your job is to translate the jokes and messaging of the original author in a way for the joke.
Kool-Aid.
What did that guy say again? In the response, it was like you said your job is X, Y, or whatever.
Yeah, your job is to translate the jokes and message of the original author in a way for the messaging of the author to be understood to a foreign audience. What does that mean?
don't
Again,
know
we go
the
back.
author.
We go back to the Monogatari example. What do we mean by messaging exactly? Do we mean like the literal message of the words when it comes to those puns, or do we mean like the general idea that puns are being made and we figure out a way to make new puns in English?
Again, if you want to be charitable to this, his statement leaves it open where it could be applying to what we were talking about, with, like the Monogatari example, right?
It could be.
Contextually, obviously, he's like arguing for something different. I
Yeah.
mean, the words, you know, the words are there. Like the words leave open that interpretation, but the actual context of the argument isn't necessarily like.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, what is this? So what does this video mean when he says these people are drinking the Kool-Aid? What Kool-Aid are you talking about? Say it.
Of the author to be understood to a forward audience.
I'm gonna pull a Kanye West here. Say who you're talking about. Say it.
Fruit punch Kool-Aid.
I bet you're translating Huck Finn as well from its original text. To which this translator says, "Oh, you're one of those." Social acceptance points. And it's not only immoral, it's just downright stupid. Because, like what that labor Twitter user said, they went out of their way to remove things they personally didn't agree with when they were translating something. Like,
Okay, what were they translating? What are they worked on?
removing text
Again, what was
50-year-old men, as they put it. And by 50-year-old men, they mean what exactly?
Woke wasn't
The person
invented
who
until
wrote the thing they're
2020.
Translating to begin with? So these translators genuinely believe that they know the story better than the actual creator who wrote and drew the story in the first place. This is not
Wait,
only
what?
a problem.
Okay, we
That's
drew
not
it.
the what?
Wait.
That's not the argument.
Are we also? That's yeah, not the argument. Also, how do you know we're talking about manga? Person, what have they worked on? They didn't say anything in here about manga.
I mean, if you wanna...
It looks like this tweet is a reply because there's like a little line above like the profile image, but we don't know what like they're replying to, what the rest of this thread may be saying. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. Are they talking about manga? Are they talking about video games, anime, what, just novels? You know.
Again, this is hurting my brain.
Yeah.
The argument for your side here is not focusing. Fuck, I'm losing my fucking place. What the fuck? They're not focusing on the right shit for this. Like, if they want to have a legitimate argument here, whatever they just got out of what they just said is not what they need to. Like, that is not what was said.
So it says on their Twitter bio, they wrote they localized the Tomorrow Children, Soul Cresta, and Bayonetta 3. All right. What did you do exactly there? Like, what was like? I guess we're not going to address that. We don't want to do any research into that matter. We'll just do the research that whoever is writing for Bounding into Comics has already done, and then just turn that into a video.
Relevant.
Oh, look.
So basically, you have a
It's
I
that
am
video.
so confused right now. Wait, hold on. This is like sourceception right now because it's Asmongold reacting to Rev's video. But Rev is reacting to Asmongold, but then the credited source is like a clip taken from Twitter, and the credited source is this user.
And we're reacting to that.
Ow, my head. I don't know. Let's see what this is.
And who does that hurt in the long run? The woke translator? Maybe sure. But this will just end up hurting Falcom instead, and they don't deserve to be punished. Because they make amazing games that are full of content and world building, and this kind of shit needs to stop because it's not right.
Japanese people
Then
never
this
make any
controversy got
mistakes, by
so
the way.
bad, even as
No.
No, they can
we're
put
also-
in sexist
I mean, there's
bullshit.
a whole thing we can talk about when it comes to like non-Japanese works being brought into Japan and the kinds of changes that happen to that shit in order to make it more palatable to a Japanese audience. That just completely changes like the most obvious example is like this is all Japanese Romance of the Three Kingdoms media. Joe's video on that, basically. So
Well,
yeah,
the argument is not that these localizers think they know the work better than the creator.
no.
Like, if you want to say that they're changing the work, sure, that's what they're doing. That's what they're saying. They're changing it to be more palatable. That's literally what they said.
To a general American audience.
Nothing
and again,
about
we
that
could talk about that in terms of
implies-
like an agenda, but it's also like something else got to make a profit.
Nothing about that implied that they know the work better than the author. What?
No, yeah.
And on this, so here's a clip of that.
Yeah, this is a classic one I show anytime it's relevant. So basically, you have a translation of a.
Okay, no,
scene
it's
from this
Asmongold
movie
reacting to Rev, but we're also just using a
basically saying,
source
I wanted to wear something
Twitter from the
different so people wouldn't
Why
look
is
at
the
me.
video like
And
shaded
in
like
the
this too? This is not what the video looks
localization,
like,
it
by the
says,
way.
Oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my nerves.
Oh my god.
Hey, getting on my
in front of me, I
program that will soon be able to auto-translate any manga instantly into any other language. The company behind this is called Orange, and this AI program has been launched already in 2021. And it is
Studio
already
Orange.
being actively used, and the founders of this hope that Orange will eventually get so...
Okay, actively used by whom? In what cases? Again, what are you talking about? Like, oh, it's being actively used.
What is it on? See, it would be interesting to have like something like that, like a
It would
Google
be.
Lens, where you could like read fucking manga that no one's ever going to fucking translate.
Yeah, I mean,
hasn't
there's like a
translated
lot
in,
of
like,
like doujinshi
60
like
years.
that, where it'd be
Yeah.
very nice.
So that kind of thing would be cool.
A lot of like magazines and stuff, which we only have, are only Japanese, and obviously translating an entire magazine, or even just an article from a magazine from 1983 that you need, that's fucking costs money and stuff, and it can be irritating. So if AI can help expedite that process and maybe help, free up translators to, like, I don't know, work on other things that are probably more important, more pressing, then sure.
That'd be cool. That's not what they're focusing on. They're just doing, we're gonna translate stuff that's already being translated, but faster.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that doesn't fucking help anybody.
But
I
there's a
mean,
lot of
that's
stuff that
another
isn't
thing
being
that I talk
translated
about
that-
literally all the time. Like, motherfuckers complaining about single lines in Nagatoro or whatever.
Yeah,
we still
single
don't
words.
have Sally the Witch, the first magical girl show, available fully in English.
Yeah.
And a bunch of like shoujo anime. A lot of fan translators, like more recently, I guess, been seeing like Minky Momo and stuff like that getting translated. But most of the time, when I see random bullshit getting translated, it's usually some mecha show. And like, maybe it's not fair for me to be like, oh, they're fucking translating some mega show, blah blah blah, like whatever. Like, everything deserves to be available in English at the end of the day. But like, I would sure fucking love to be able to watch, like Hikaru-san and Samurai Giants. Yeah, big one, huge
I
one.
really want to watch Minky Momo's 90s adaptation.
Yep.
Look forward to seeing that one.
Let's use AI to reconstruct the original Doraemon anime.
That's like something that I would use AI translation for. It's just stuff that is not available.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll deal with a shitty translation. I get that from fan subs literally all the time. I fucking hate dealing with fan sub bullshit. Fan sub bullshit is so much worse than like Crunchyroll, because you see people throwing up like, I don't know, shitty ARR subs on illegal like streaming sites, and then people see that like, Rai has English subs. Guess I don't have to, sub it myself. And apparently it's like taken from the Arabic like script or something and translated into English, and it's just completely broken. It's like what I believe Slad told me. And there's so many more examples like that. Like, I don't want to
You guys
have to
see
deal
how
with
4Kids suggested Pokemon Company rub out all Japanese content out of the show so it would be more universal? The series would later adopt that approach, and it contributed to its success. Yeah, I mean, we can also just look at 4Kids. You know, yeah, all the stuff with 4Kids, where it gets very funny. I will never forget the quote. I can never verify this quote because like the source for it was like, it no longer exists and it wasn't archived, but it was like the president of 4Kids saying that, you know, Doremi is very cute and stuff, so you know little girls will watch it. Like the characters are sexy, so little boys will also watch it. And it's like,
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
talking about Doremi. What the fuck are you talking
About
He
Dory.
was, he was
That's like
so real for
That's a
that.
schizo. Comments, yeah, are playing ML subs, and they're right. ML subs are fucking awful. Yeah, I mean, there's also like a matter of like, because you know, we're also not just talking about the translation. You know, in terms of translating the words, we also, when it comes to anime, need to talk about like the timing, typesetting, all these sorts of things.
Yeah, typesetting is a underappreciated art form in translation.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Shout out to all the
so what do we got
fan
next?
subs
Woke
that
translators panic as anime and manga publishers switch to AI. Why are we saying like plural? Japanese entertainment win. It's an epic win, guys.
epic win.
Again, terrible thumbnail. Japan dumps woke.
So I want to mention something real quick. So is your guy
Also, yeah,
that-
can we address like the Endymion video? For some reason, you like an AI generated your image is on there, even though it's like nothing to do with Spy Family.
cringe.
Clickbait.
I just want to talk about. So, is your guy mentioned comments on the are constantly complaining about machine learning subs, and they're right. ML subs are fucking awful. Which I want to say is definitely true. But another interesting example of this is X Hentai, which, despite being a porn site, is also actually like a scanlation community.
Yeah.
The site itself actually has a bounty system where people can try to basically vote for things to be scanlated. And when people on that site upload machine learning translations of ero manga, they hate it. They rate it very poorly. They say this is fucking dog shit. Don't upload this on their site, and they outright reject it on the community. They're like, this. There's no space for this here. Get out.
That's sort of hostility towards you know, non-human translations on sites like Sad Panda. It's why I was so surprised to see that there was like a positive response to AI being used in the Ancient Magus Bride, because people had this perspective of like, yes, the culture war. We're defeating the woke localizers, the Wocalizers. And it's like, I was like, there's like a weird cognitive dissonance going on here between like two different parts of like this whole. I mean, again, maybe it just points to the fact they're not really parts of the fandom when they're not like, you know.
Yeah,
well, that's what it makes it, you know. Yeah, Mumi was said earlier, but like they're tourists. Like that's like, like that's the thing. Like anytime you see these type of people complain about this thing, it's like you aren't here. Like you aren't part of this community.
Yeah.
Like get the fuck out.
It's just very easy to believe something that you want to believe in. You have this, like pretty much all of the people who hold this opinion are somewhere on the right side of the political spectrum, and like the more right you get, the more negative IQ you get with like sources and arguments and shit like that. It's very easy to believe what you want to believe in.
Again, to
people who actually know like translation, Japanese, any of this shit, they know.
Tourist is definitely a projection. Yeah, I remember seeing like Steven being called a tourist because he said like trans rights in an Oni might tweet, and it was like, do you know who you're talking to right now?
You know who you're talking to.
Yeah, honestly, we've said tourists just because like that's what people fucking say all the time, just to fucking get their goat kind of thing. Literally, I don't know anybody that actually unironically says that. That's like,
yeah, I don't use that term lightly.
That's in this space. Yeah, definitely.
I'm only using it because that's what they've been saying.
I mean, the people who I see use it are like these like trendy types who think it's like part of like some sort of like based Japan culture war thing.
But I did want to point out, you gotta make the difference. You gotta differentiate and make the distinction between machine translation and AI.
Yeah.
Because the tech bros will.
The tech bros. No, let's not make that distinction. They can leave a comment.
Yeah,
if you, but I actually know if you are someone who may like know a little bit more about the differences between machine translation and AI, you know, leave a comment if you actually want to like maybe explain that in more detail because I would like to read it. Let's watch this video.
oh my god.
Here's some good news for you anime and manga fans and people that like games that come out of Japan. Publishers are starting to...
Is this guy already out of breath?
Well, he's the Yellow Flash. He had to run.
You could
here real
hear
quick.
you could hear like the breath here.
True, yeah.
games.
Well, yeah, he had to
that come out of
run.
Japan.
I mean,
He ran out of
Publishers are
energy after
takes,
the intro.
takes a lot of energy to run 200 miles an hour. You know what I mean? Like
Anime and manga and games that have
They were outside touching grass, and they had to make it here real quick for this video. They had to run
they get
inside.
it real quick.
You just
They're
don't
like doing.
understand.
They're actually like just like really in shape. They're just doing
Okay.
this on like a rolling machine.
I don't think we mentioned this before, by the way. A lot of these videos, and a lot of these articles or whatever, they talk about how the woke. Well, first of all, they have to demean them woke or whatever.
Oh yeah. By the way, again, we're
translators.
still using Bounding into Comics as our source.
Right. These people are angry. You know, they're like, oh, these woke translators are panicked. Okay, here's the thing. Why is that a bad thing? People looking at job insecurity should be panicked. That's a bad
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
They're potentially going to lose their job to a dog shit fucking machine process.
You consider
that's
that they just needed to
that's an
learn
inherently
the code.
objectively bad thing. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well,
It'd be really
again,
funny
they,
to go back
they're,
to, like,
they're
like,
pushing the agenda shit. So like they try to make it like, oh well, you wouldn't be losing your job right now if you just kept your politics out of the trade. It's like that's not what this
Which is like, yeah,
about.
that's not the like, and even some of these people, even the same people making these claims are also like, yeah, it's about piracy. Yeah, because that's what it's actually fucking about, you dumbass asshole.
It'd be really funny to go back to like 19th century Britain when like the Luddites were around and be like, have you guys considered just learning to machine?
to embrace
Learn to code.
AI translations because, for one, it's cheaper. They're just going to have somebody that kind of proofreads it and fixes it a little bit. But I think AI will
Is this guy also drunk?
He
like,
sounds drunk, yeah.
actually do what the localizer.
He sounds more drunk than Critical Drinker.
All right,
There's
he
that
was
with that.
outside touching grass and drinking with his buddies. Okay,
He was cracking open
He has a
cold ones
life.
at the
he had to run here real
the
quick,
past few
drunk.
years won't and refuse to do, and that's give us accurate translations.
You can go into your
What a-
fucking editor and put your shitty intro into your shitty video, but you can't cut out the fucking the pauses in between your
Listen,
fucking
no,
speech.
we don't understand his grind set. This man is literally Sisyphus. He's pushing up the boulder right now
pushing
while
the boulder.
recording this.
That's true. That's true. He has 400k subs, and we have 4k on Weeb Crew.
Yeah, but we're punching up.
Oh yeah, true.
There's been
Yeah,
a
true,
lot
true,
of
true.
these people that translate from Japanese to English and they add things, especially woke.
I feel like this guy also has no familiarity with what he's talking about because he's saying things in such a vague manner.
He
There's
sounds like a fucking
people, and
YouTube
they,
video stuttering.
They fucking add things, and I don't like it.
What do they add?
I don't think I can actually watch. This video is kind of just
Unwatchable?
unwatchable. Next.
Again, these people don't actually fucking watch anything. Like they might fuck. I watch fucking Boruto. Okay.
All right.
Like,
All right. But
I
are you
watch 10
watching,
anime
like,
a year.
But have you seen Big Wars?
have you seen?
All right. Have you seen Guyver Out of Control? I have.
No,
All
you,
right, I'm
you
a real
can't.
anime
You can't.
fan.
You can't. You're getting into gatekeeping. You gotta
We
stop.
can't get any. We can't
You
gatekeep
can't
the
gatekeep.
gatekeepers.
That's the funny thing. The people that are like the most for gatekeeping are like,
The easiest to gatekeep.
yeah, like, yeah, okay, you're like a step above the kid that's like 12 years old watching My Hero Academia on fucking Netflix. Good for you. Like, what? It doesn't mean that you're like some fucking deep weeb. Like what the fuck?
I mean, even then, that kid is like speeding through a lot of anime a lot of the time. When you're in that early phase of anime, you watch a lot of shit. When you're like
young
on the
and haven't
grind
had the
set, you
joy
have
of life
several
beaten out of you
hundreds of
yet.
thousands of subscribers, and you're well past the point of like needing to give a shit. Like, oh, I can just fucking record a video and shit
Fuck it.
anything,
Yeah.
any garbage that I want out because like people will watch it.
I mean, yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, a lot of these channels put out videos like, if not daily, multiple times a day. 3 hours ago, 23 hours ago. Yeah, well, so like daily videos, multiple videos a day.
I think what we need to start doing is we just need to start gatekeeping the gatekeeper.
Who will watch the watchers?
Like we're also in favor of gatekeeping. Let's
wait.
Let's start gatekeeping you.
I just had a thought. Have we mentioned the fact that dubs are not translations?
Oh yeah, I'm talking about because dubs have a lot more constraints as well in terms of like.
Yeah, they're not the same thing as a subtitled translation.
No, they're not. It's a very different process.
None of these people mention that. None of these people mention the fact that dub translators, dub script writers, have to be constrained towards the lip flaps, which are not built for English.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you literally have to add shit. Like
So this one's from Niche. This article's from Niche Gamer, and I think, are we just gonna read the Niche Gamer article? Okay, no, there's some other ones. This is still bounding into comics, or no, it's not. This is
ClownfishTV.
I don't know what this one is. This does not. What is this additional context? But they don't cite any sources.
Western anime.
Wait, are they? Oh, they're just doing the same thing we are. Holy fuck! Like they got their little PNG tubers down there. That's cool. But here's another conspiracy theory for everyone. All right, I wonder if channels like this use like the same like Niche Gamer, bounding into comments. They use these sources. I wonder if these websites are paying them paying these YouTubers to use their articles in their videos as a sort of like publication kind of thing.
Possibly.
I have nothing to back that up, but again, we got our tinfoil hats on.
It kind of pisses me off too, because as somebody who does like deep fucking research whenever I talk about literally anything, like these people who just pull from some article that somebody else wrote and then just regurgitate their bullshit, like it just kind of pisses me off. Like here I am importing books from Japan, several of them, spending thousands of dollars, trying to be as accurate as possible, bringing shit that no one in the West knows about.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to pull as many views.
No, you don't matter. You know, research doesn't. I mean, again, truth does not matter. What matters is like the narrative, the agenda.
You know, like I said, it's easy to believe what you want to believe.
One of the things that are
Truth doesn't matter. It's all about ethics in video game journalism.
Sure. One of the things that's going to happen in the new year is that we're going to see a lot of unnecessary jobs get replaced by AI. Now, I don't think this is always a good thing. I want to be clear. We've been talking a lot about AI lately because it is creeping into the
unnecessary jobs
media space.
Is there such a thing as an unnecessary job?
I listen, all right. I'm not for all jobs being replaced by AI because certainly this guy's job could be automated. Let's be real.
The necessary job is when you're in rural Japan and you have to fight the boars off. Like that's the necessary job. Do not automate that job. That's very necessary.
Do not install auto turrets in the Japanese countryside to fight off the boar.
We have to live in tandem with nature.
The plot for Hayao Miyazaki's next movie revealed.
Oh my god!
I hate the pigs. I hate the pigs.
It's just Hayao Miyazaki himself fighting off the boars.
He's just making Porco Rosso too after pointing the heron.
It's like American Sniper, but instead of like Chris Kyle going to like New Orleans to shoot looters during Katrina, he just goes to Japan to shoot boars on the countryside.
Bro, we have to go to Iwata. We have to fight the boars off.
Any of you guys know Clint Eastwood? Can we sell that script to him?
That'll go hard, actually.
That will go so hard. It seemed like it's like a companion piece to like Nicolas Cage's Pig.
But in some cases, I think it is a very good thing because apparently Japanese studios are going to rely on AI more to do their translation to make sure that there are.
What do you mean studios? There aren't like manga studios really. There's like publication companies. There are anime studios, but anime studios themselves, with the exception of I think maybe KyoAni, they don't really oversee like the translation that much.
You kind of can get manga studios if you stretch the definition of a studio a bit, and you.
Yeah, I mean it's different from how it works. Like,
yeah, I mean, you get like the big mangaka. They have like 5 or 6
like,
assistants. That could technically be a studio.
Yeah, right. The studio in that context though is still like this is like an apartment we're renting.
Yeah, it's not really the same thing what they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, just renting a
I
dungeon.
don't want to watch like a podcast though. I mean, podcasts are lame. I don't know why anyone
Yeah,
fucking
podcasts.
a podcast live streamers. Video essays. That's where it's at. That's what I need. And for video, I mean, these aren't really even video essays. This is VTuber man reading.
Anime localizers are fine.
This is just called turning OBS off and turning it off when you're done talking.
Like, it's gonna actually, you know what? I like that Rev's face is like blocked by chat. In fact, I'm going to move it to just block it even more.
We cover any situation where localizers are catching an L, and in this situation, I have some updates where localizers are very satisfyingly reaping.
Who the fuck is Rev, by the way?
I've
I've only ever heard this person like 2 days ago when we watched this video.
They're like, I mean, their channel content is basically like this. It's like outrage merchant stuff.
Outrage merchant VTuber who
Terrible
is
thumbnails.
a female avatar.
Half the fucking
Male presenting.
That's
voice?
a lot of red arrows.
Are
That's
they
a lot of
Twitter
naked women in
openly
these thumbnails.
hostile. We tried to warn you.
The real life yandere girl has returned.
The bizarre hatred of Freyrin anime gets
Twitter
worse.
is canceling the Freerin anime for
God, it'd be
being
so
quote
funny
unquote
if this was a
problematic. I
trans
love
VTuber.
this. I actually like this Freerin thumbnail. Let me show this on stream real quick. God damn it! I keep picking the wrong fucking thing in OBS.
That favorite thumbnail is pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, no, this one actually kind of this one gets a pass. This Freerin thumbnail right here. This Freerin thumbnail, yeah, no, this gets a pass. That
goes go.
Oh yeah, Rev also
Freerin
uses
with like
a
the
lot
Loach
of
your god
fan art
thing.
for
She's a
thumbnails,
racist.
which you know is cool.
Are they paying for it? Or at least like crediting the people?
I think he does credit them.
I
But it's like in the description.
so.
What was that
Yeah.
fucking? Go back down a little bit. Down, like 2 or 3 rows. This has to stop. They normalize hatred of Japanese culture. What?
Oh no, that fucking the Lolly God Requiem video. Oh, the comments on that are so insufferable. That was a trend on TikTok for a bit. I don't know if people really do it anymore.
Thumbnail art. Okay, yeah, they do credit it.
Yeah, that's that's another rabbit hole.
I'm not gonna click that I'm not gonna click that Pixiv link though, because I don't know what the rest of this image may be. It could be very compromising. I don't know. Yeah, let's go through their fucking videos. They have a couple on them.
Hey, what's up, guys? Right
Couple.
there. So I think it's
Couple.
always useful to cover a
Oh,
growing and
god damn it!
persistent
Fuck off. You thought it. Here we go.
past couple of years. Now, I consider a lot of the work of localizers to be the equivalent of cultural vandalism. Okay, so these people who are responsible
Interesting.
for translating anime, manga, and alike take too much liberty with their power. They have a power.
Localizer starts crying at the Japanese grocery store when the cashier says arigato for atmosphere instead of thanks for the sick purchases, dude, but remember to watch your carbon footprint with all that meat consumption. What is this? Am I too old to get this now? I don't understand what this is. What do you mean say arigato for atmosphere?
Yeah, I didn't get that part because I understand the I understand the gist of.
I think I get the idea. Yeah.
But
so I think they're saying
arigato
like,
for atmosphere.
Oh, do they mean like a Japanese grocery store in the U.S.?
No. So they're saying like the joke.
Oh,
The joke is like a localizer is in Japan, and they said arigato because like
In
they're in
Japan, they
Japan.
speak
Yeah,
Japanese for
grocery store
atmosphere.
Yeah. So like
grocery store
they're
clerk says
crying.
arigato, and then for atmosphere they say thanks for the sick purchase in the dub or whatever.
So like
Localizer,
because
right?
like people will leave stuff untranslated to maintain the atmosphere, like senpai or something, right?
Oh right. Oh yeah. I guess that
That's-
kind of reminds me of what was the dub for that one anime we watched recently with Lex.
Oh,
Uramichi, where the dub was like, the dub would just like leave in certain Japanese words. It'd be really funny because the main character would just be like, "Is everyone feeling Genki today?" And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm just imagining like fucking Momoko from Magical Doremi and her like translator thing, just like going complete haywire.
Trip where they like to use their trusted position as a localizer to insert random
They're like your banker. You trust them.
political messages or random Reddit tier jokes or other things like that, or just poor quality translations. And they have lost a lot of trust of consumers who don't want this stuff. They want a proper translation. And instead of addressing these concerns,
Ohio, good morning. Yeah.
localizers have only doubled
Yeah, these
down
got
and
views.
rubbed their
Yeah.
nose in anyone who is complaining about this stuff. So here's a classic example before we get into today's story of how bad localization.
Honestly, I can't blame him because anytime like I tweet about like dunking on like people shitting on localizers, it usually does pretty well. So like,
Yeah.
shit, I could be like saying something interesting, but I like getting new followers.
Why do you think we're doing this stream, Maid?
Yeah, that too. That too.
Yeah.
Can get. This is a classic one I show anytime it's relevant. So basically, you have a
Mhm.
translation of a scene from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid where Luca is basically saying,
This is like the only real example. Also, it's a dub. I don't care about the dubs.
It's also
we want to start
It's not the
gatekeeping
clip.
people. I'm sorry, Hayden, but we're going to start gatekeeping people. We're going to start with the dub watchers.
Hell yeah.
They go first.
More people need to do what I do in group watches and just like, let's just watch this episode in
Yeah, if
English
you
dub
care
for no
about-
reason.
If you care about
sorry.
dub quality to this extent, you're
I'm sorry
going
if this was
first.
addressed already, but have we at least talked about how localizers have done this to themselves? Have done themselves no favors in the way that they brag about this stuff sometimes?
I mean, they're just probably
Um,
bragging to like their own followers or like
I mean,
localizer
there are certain
mutuals.
cases that I've seen on Twitter where like the
YouTubers do it.
localizer are bragging about it, but it's already in like a heated interaction. There's already been some sort of drama going on, so it's like to me, it's like, oh, they're just clearly fucking with people.
Yeah, you see this in a lot
the
of different
bragging to me
communities.
really just seems like trolling, and it seems to be pretty effective given the response they get.
To be fair, like I guess it isn't
like,
doing
don't take the
themselves a
bait, guys. What
favor
are you
when they
doing?
like are trying to fuck with somebody, and then that person's able to take them out of context and like post that around and like spread a narrative using their own words as like fuel.
I mean,
essentially.
again, like we said, these people don't care about truth anyway. It's not really a matter. Like they're not going to get like represented fairly anyway. So why even bother?
saying, I wanted to wear something different so people wouldn't look at me. And in the localization, it says, oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my
Pesky
nerves."
plumbers.
Yeah.
I don't have it on me, but for example, just tweeting, not replying. Hey guys, I'm so proud to have translated Yatsura as incels.
Jesus Christ.
Again, I feel like you can do that as like a content creator or musician, and everyone will say like, "Oh, bass, bro, awesome." And that's probably what a lot of localizers say too. But again, like if you do that as a content creator, if you dunk on the people, then you're based. If you're a localizer, because they have this stigma around them, usually completely unfair too.
I'm inherently against that because incel does not mean the same thing in Japanese.
The only time I think I've seen someone like working on something show outright disregard or contempt towards like a series they're working on is the one dog fucking anime that was that was out like airing. I think like someone working on that was
I love
like
Kendall
shit talking.
Tokorozawa.
Oh,
Kendall Kurosawa. No,
Inukai?
we're too
Inukai?
not the elitist one movie. Yeah, Inukai-san.
I didn't,
I think
end up watching that one. That one.
There was like some contempt for that from people who were like, I think maybe handling the dub or maybe there was a sub. And that'll be like, you know, I'll treat it the exact same as anyone else who shows like a contempt for anime like that, where it's like,
Fuck out of here. Yeah.
Well,
here. It's like Ghost Stories dub, which is like a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's not like a localizers thing right there. I'm gonna do what we call standing on business, all right? And I'm just
oh.
Isn't it Yacht?
Right, just like Ichigo. Ichigo stands on business.
Yeah, we stand on business here at the Weeb Crew.
Isn't Yatsura an alien?
No.
Urusei Yatsura?
Yeah,
you say Yatsura?
Yatsura? No, Yatsura just means like
yeah,
those
content
guys.
for or Battle Harm series. Yeah, but it's
I think Sarah Moon
like
actually has a video literally about this, like about the word Yatsura.
Yeah, so like Yatsu and like Koitsu, like these two things are like kind of like aggressively worded like those guys. So like Urusei is well obviously a pun on Urusai, so like quiet, like be quiet. But Urusei is referring to like stars and like other planets, so it's like that logic of like those fucking aliens basically.
So I would say that, yeah, for a lot of like Edgefier Battle Harm series, so it's a matter of, one, are they working on the series? 2, is that impacting like their like translation work? And 3, how is it impacting their translation work? These are all like things that need to be considered, because if it's just someone being like, I don't know, fucking High School DxD is really dumb or whatever, and they just say that on Twitter, maybe they work as a localizer, or maybe they don't work on High School DxD, or maybe they do, but it doesn't really impact their translation at all, or maybe the way it impacts their translation isn't really like, it doesn't manifest in any sort of like egregious issues. Those noily aliens.
Yeah, that was like the common old one, like old localized title for Urusei Yatsura was those noisy aliens. Or obnoxious aliens, yeah.
And all you see is someone turning something you like into something shitposty because the localizer believes it's beneath them. Again, that kind of gets into things. I mean, the obvious example, and this is something that not a lot of people get mad about, although I think it's definitely shifted over the past couple of years, is Ghost Stories. Ghost Stories is like the big prime example there, where it's like we talk about this dub, and in to a certain extent, the Ghost Stories dub gets a pass because people just think that the source material is shit, or that it didn't, or, you know, they perpetuate this myth that it didn't do well. And I believe it was Mercury Falcon who did a video on this, just going into all this stuff about how this is complete unfounded bullshit. But you know, yeah, stuff like that, stuff like the Ghost Stories dub, I think is a good example of stuff like that. Where we talk about, you know, because again, a lot of these examples that we get, you know, with something like Dragon Maid, this is just one line in Dragon Maid, but whereas some Ghost Stories, and Ghost Stories is celebrated because of this fact, is that the entire damn thing is changed, basically. There's very little it shares with its regular original Japanese version. Why don't people talk about that more? Because, I mean, Ghost Stories, it's like the humor isn't woke, the humor is racist.
I was about to mention, like, notice how in every single one of these examples that people bring up, it's Dragon Maid with the patriarchy, it's Skate the Infinity with the non-binary. Ghost Stories gets a pass because it makes like black people joke or whatever.
Racist, anti-Semitic, misogynist, like a whole laundry list of jokes.
It's and then, you know, if you find that stuff funnier, then like, I don't know, what you know about the patriarchy, whatever. But again, if we're standing on business, if we're being principled here, then that shouldn't matter.
I think the worst thing about Ghost Story stuff is that they claim that no one liked the anime. Standing on business.
Yeah, the ones the ones clipped are just the good one. Yeah, there's a lot of jokes in Ghost Stories that also just do not land, or they are in very
it is not
poor
that
taste
consistently
nowadays.
Funny. If you watch the whole show, it fucking sucks.
It kind yeah.
You can watch it in Japanese.
About this is the Ghost Stories though. The Ghost Stories OP is fucking goes hard. That shit's underrated as hell.
Who translated Ghost Stories up again?
Yeah, I mean, Shaves brought up that the ADR director for Ghost Stories was really like notorious for doing stuff like that. But you know, Ghost Stories is just the most egregious example.
They do it a lot with hentai.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sex to Credit. Iwaka.
ADV. I think it was ADV, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, so.
Well, I mean, you could think both stories is boring, right? Which is like fair, like both versions or whatever. But I mean, I think the thing that really just bothers me is this like logic that we can just sort of trash on the original piece of work for no reason, like
right.
And various like panels and things like that claim that the original didn't sell well or whatever, which wasn't true. It did fine.
Yeah. So yeah, when it comes to like the matter of localizers showing contempt for certain series, it's not the matter of like them being localizers showing contempt. It's just, I think it's a matter of you showing contempt for these kinds of series at all. Really,
art,
that I would take issue with. It's, you know, it really. It already becomes more problematic if they're a localizer and then like negatively impacts their work. But it's not something I'm gonna be like, oh, it's not a problem if they weren't a localizer though, because I'm like, no, fuck that, it's still annoying.
I mean, we go back to the Kobayashi dub, right? The one the example literally on screen right now, the pesky patriarchy, right? That comment there's no contempt for Kobayashi-san like in that line. Like there's no contempt for it. It's not trashing the art form for it. It's just adding a kind of weird line, right? Like that's literally it. The actual contempt, I would say, you could argue contempt is maybe the exclusion of certain lines of gendered qualities, right? Like of queer qualities. Like you could argue with contempt there. Again, none of these people are going to because they hate that shit. They're all
again because for a variety of reasons,
But you know, pesky patriarchal societal demands. It has no contempt for the show. Like it's not shitting on it. It's just weird. It's just a weird line. You know,
it's
the
just
same
a weird
thing,
line.
the cuckold line that Kana says in it. This is weird. That's it. It's like there's no contempt. Which to me is a lot more important. Like I think shitting on the piece of media is a lot worse of a thing.
Right here. So this tweet says the ancient
there's a lot of weird lines in fan subs. Like Shabe's sent some lines from the fucking 80s dog Toei show. I forget what it's called. The worst Kennel Tokorosawa.
Oh right.
Yeah. At some point, they just stopped giving a shit with that show. Just like put emotes and shit. Melmo subs, they do that as well.
A lot of people got involved in this.
Oh yeah, regarding this human review thing, by the way, someone else. I'm sorry, I saw your comment when you posted it, but I didn't address it. Is that someone else pointed out that it may also be the case that AI is being implemented so that they can then basically have a reason to pay the people who are then checking the AI scripts less as well.
Which I wouldn't be surprised by. Crunchyroll has fucking terrible standards with their payments.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't Crunchyroll to be fair, but it is like a general industry problem, certainly.
Yeah. A lot of industry, well, a general problem with most industries is underpay, right? So it's not a stretch to imagine that they're going to try to use that to pay people less. It's what corporations do.
Of AI versus localizers. And as this is captioned, whoever wins, we lose. Because a lot of people acknowledge that AI translations have a lot of flaws. But at the same time, nobody
what the hell is that fucking poster?
Localizers.
It's like a shitty edit of the Alien versus Predator.
Yeah. Why is...
I don't know. Graphic design is their burden.
I mean, at least remove the fucking part of the xenomorph you could still see.
Something,
like, come on,
it's
not that fucking hard. It's just white. Just fucking paintbrush it.
You need to paintbrush that shit.
Annoyed. I'm so annoyed. I'm more annoyed
at least
by
he
this
credited the user.
That's true.
It's a source.
Their position as a translator to do their own selfish things like putting in political messages and so forth. So nobody feels sorry for them. People are sad that anime and manga fans aren't getting the best translations through AI.
Again,
but at the same
this
rate,
is
the people suffering
like
the most from that
making
are
the fucking
localizers, and people are
translation
simply saying,
industry
you reap what you
this
sow.
monolith.
And you might have noticed this profile picture before. This is a famous, or I should I say,
Do these
infamous
people just hate
localizer
getting
named
anime?
Katrina.
Like localizers and these people are trying to bring anime to you so you can watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah, this.
I mean, a lot of these people clearly don't watch anime. I guess they just don't want anime.
Like if I feel like if you want to like shit on these individuals, right? That's one thing, but like again, we're just making the fucking entire industry this monolith that's all in lockstep and all hive mind. Even though like what 98.8% of the fucking translations are just fucking fine, normal, like no one would fucking complain about anything. But like we had to point to these one individual lines and like fucking shows 5 years apart from each other, and then like point to these like one or two people like that you think are like responsible for this giant agenda, and you're like, oh, this entire industry just needs to go because obviously it's an agenda. Like I have no remorse for these people in their jobs. It's like, what, dude? Like
Hashtag not all translators, guys. I think that's the point we're trying to make. Hashtag not all. Can we get that trending?
Hashtag not all lines.
Hashtag not all lines. Listen, as a woke liberal leftist myself, all right, these people do not represent me, all right? Let's continue.
Katrina multiple times on this channel, and despite the fact she has since changed her profile picture, this was an iconic one for many years. It was like the bat signal for bad localization, not only just bad translations from her, but also bad takes regarding localization and manga and anime as a whole. Now, if you're familiar with her Twitter, if you even liked a tweet of anyone who's ever criticized her, you're probably blocked. She runs blockchains nonstop to deflect any criticism. But of course, you guys probably aren't surprised that in this situation, she had to get involved, making this quote retweet saying, "I don't have words for how embarrassing and disappointing this is. Instead of
We are not blocked, baby. Let's go. Hit that follow."
Who's more hated, localizers or AniTubers? Well, AniTubers, well, if you want to call like Rev an AniTuber, some of these guys, they're the ones delivering these news. And again, there's this whole thing where you can make a video that is mostly bullshit. If you don't cite your sources or really like emphasize the information you're taking from, like you can just get a lot of, right-leaning people, heavily right-leaning people to get give into what you were saying.
this is a good question. Who is more hated?
I'd probably say localizers.
I get like I feel like there's more of a tendency to dismiss like AniTubers in a broad sense, because like even people that like respect anime as a medium will generally dismiss AniTubers.
Yeah, but like how many people are standing up against like localizers? Like how many people are like siding with them or engaging with that kind of discourse in an intelligent manner?
Yeah. Oh, it's because like they're definitely more like exposed, I guess, because like obviously like they're actually in the industry. They're not just like some dude fucking making a video, right? But I guess at the same time, like they're allotted like more like I don't know. It's hard to say for sure. Like if you go by quantity, probably localizers would be more as far as like sheer volume.
I feel like if you're an AniTuber and you just kind of make normal, like, sort of giguk style videos or whatever, just talking about a show, most of the comments are just going to be, "Oh, I love this show." Whereas, like the people that hate AndyTubers are mostly just on Twitter
Yeah.
or sites like that. Normal
What?
people just want to watch a video on Haikyuu and be like, "Oh, this is cool analysis. I love this show." Then
You'd be
not actually
surprised.
acknowledge the person.
You'd be surprised how many places don't like anti-tubers.
Well, 4chan, Reddit, plenty of places too, but they also fucking hate localizers.
Yeah. Oh, that was a tangent.
That was fun.
I'm reading like this article about Unikai-san. I'm not really seeing anything that's like makes me want to like vomit or anything. I don't understand why it's like such a like. Here, I'll pull this article up. Western Localizer brags about deliberately botching High Dive's English subtitles for My Life as Inukai-san's Dog. I guess the botched translation is like, I had to pee outside, but what else was I going to do? She had me on a leash. Whereas this user points out that the original Japanese is more akin to, I managed to get outside, but she had me on a leash, so I couldn't do anything. I don't see what the kerfuffle's about. I don't see what, like, what's the big change here? Have I ever had to pee? I don't. Sending filler subtitles incorrect translation make it seem that Pochita is complaining about over being forced to pee outside rather than expressing dismay at having his escape attempt stopped by Karen's responsible dog ownership.
What?
People are really taking this white girl dog fucker anime seriously just because of this. Otherwise, no one would be giving a shit about this show.
Had the protagonist saying, "How is Inukai-san's friends with that Gyaru bimbo?" Where in Japanese he less judgmentally asserts, "I never expected Inukai-san to be friends with a Gyaru." I can definitely see that still being like generally judgmental though, depending on like what this character, who this character is, what they may think of Gyarus, and like all that sort of thing. That there certainly may be a negative like sentiment attached to that, just carried by implication, even if they aren't necessarily overtly being like bimbo.
That's the thing I think people don't really take into account when they talk about these translations. Like the literal translation for something might just be like a blanket statement, right? Like, oh, I didn't think she'd be friends with a gal, but like you can say that in a way in like in Japanese that's obviously implying it's like almost like derogatory, right? Like it doesn't have to be, they don't have to like say a fucking bad word for it to like have that connotation. In Japanese, like it can be implied just by like the like pronouns or like the way that they say things. Like if you try, like I don't know, just I think people don't quite understand translation, and they just are like, oh, we need to literally translate this word to word, and if you didn't translate it word to word based on like this fucking computer machine translation, then it's wrong. And it's like, well, you're not taking into account the context.
I mean, it's like what I said before, like these people don't speak a second language. I do. I know like what it takes to translate stuff. I've done it several times myself. I have literally fucking like for my own videos, because I have to do like Google Translate, machine translation, whatever. Usually what I do is I use something like Papago to rip the text off of a page, like use a really high-res scan that I scanned, and then like put that into Papago, rip the text, put it into DeepL. Not the best process. Maybe there's a better process, like paying a translator, but I already spent a lot of money on this shit, and I don't make a lot of money from my videos. But that's besides the point. Like I just from like the context of the conversation will sometimes make changes to the wording. And sometimes like if my translation is just too shit, I like won't even touch it. But otherwise I'm like, okay, let me take this text, take what they're saying and make it sound like a human being is actually saying that, whilst keeping the original meaning.
So I guess there are some other lines here that I'm sorry I yeeted you, okay? Any other time, I'd love to be all up in her dress. Nekotane looks like she needs eye bleach. And here I thought you'd have resting bitch face for the rest of your life. I'm not really seeing, like, I mean, you know, these are like, you know, yeeted and stuff, but it's also like, I don't know, isn't she meant to be a gyaru? I can see like someone like meant to be like trendy. I mean, fucking kids say yeet all the time. Eye bleach, you know, resting bitch face, eye bleach. I don't know. These things aren't like, it's like.
I mean, again, we'd have to see what the actual fucking.
We'd have to see what like the original Japanese says.
I will say though, those lines aren't particularly impressive.
Again, like
so I'm gonna have to disagree. They're fine.
Yeah, I'm not like I don't see what
like
the need
find
for,
us
like,
work.
the pitchforks and torches are.
I mean, there's a criticism there that like
it's not your fine. It's fine.
It's fine. There is a criticism that maybe like she's not capturing the actual like what a fucking teenager would say, right? Because like she's not a teenager. Like I would have trouble fucking trying to capture what a teenager would say, and I fucking
it's true. I don't talk
have
with
two teenagers that live in my house. You know what I mean? Like, just at some point, like you stop being a teenager, and then like you hear things that like teenagers have said in some kind of nebulous
kind of gives you a migraine.
Yeah, like yeah, they say yeet, but like, do they say that in that
standing
context?
on business?
Yeah.
that's now the theme of the stream. We stand on business.
She needs eye bleach. Like I don't know if I've never heard anyone say anything like that.
I mean, this feels like something that people would say in 2016. If I'm gonna be completely real.
Yeah, I can see the eye bleach thing. Yeah, or like yeah, resting bitch face.
That's a fair like criticism if you want to go that route. I mean, but again, that's always like the criticism. That's not like a specifically like a translation like localization industry thing. That's just how translation always is. Like again, refer back to fucking buying lunches for plebs. All the fucking like.
I mean, we just watched 100 Girlfriends, and there were a lot of like lines in 100 Girlfriends where I'm like, well, they obviously didn't actually make a joke about PETA there. They said something else that was a joke, but like I don't care. You know, they said mommy milkers in reference to the one character's mom having large breasts.
Yeah, it's just like,
all right.
It's
like, I don't know.
Maybe not.
It's not the best, but it's also like, I don't understand how you can get so angry about things. Something so inconsequential.
Quality job. They're using AI to get a mediocre product for free. Is this how little they think of English-speaking audiences? Of translation? For shame. And while she's saying for shame, a lot of people are saying you reap what you sow. Because, as this quote says, Localizers, that's a new one, crying about being replaced by AI.
I feel like he said that's a new one. I can't tell if that was like contemptuous or not, but if Rev sees this, I think we can both agree Localizer is the better word that we should be using.
Yeah, if you start using vocalizers in your videos, you gotta shout us out. You gotta.
We will request royalties be paid. Our lawyers will be in contact if you do not properly credit us.
We don't have lawyers. We don't have fucking money.
We have already trademarked the term localized.
And that's exactly
from some guy in chat.
People just don't feel bad for localizers. They're the only ones who are absolutely foaming at the mouth over this story because they're losing jobs. And a lot of people.
No, I definitely saw people who weren't localizers like upset about this because, again, have you like then you know. There's a general stigma among anime fans in general when it comes to non-human translations because you know, they're generally perceived as being of lower quality.
This might be a weird question.
You have continued to do.
Is there a localizer job? Like specifically?
I don't know. I
Like,
actually know what these
they
people's like
keep
job
saying
titles are.
localizers. I'm like, isn't that just a translator that's localizing as they translate? And then like maybe you have an editor that like helps them kind of word shit. Like,
Yeah.
is there specifically a job for localizing? I've like, maybe there is, and maybe I'm just like, maybe that's like a super hyper specific thing that like these people have fucking latched onto, uh, because of like the circumstances or whatever the fuck they're talking about. But it's just like a weird, like, they keep saying localizers, yeah, or localizers. It's like, dog, I don't even know what a localizer is. Like, what?
I think what Sarah Moon said was translators are localizers. Like it's essentially the same thing.
So it's just like
I'm not really sure what the
interchangeable.
difference is. Yeah.
That makes sense. It's just weird. Like, just say translators. Like,
Yeah.
they're the people translating your fucking work. Like, it's not that the saying localizer is just like, it just
I
makes it
think
sound like
these people would rather like reserve a translator to the quote unquote accurate fan translators. Like, you know, the people putting the Arcelor in Magical Doremi and Neighborhood Stories. Like
okay,
those
so
are
it's-
translators because it's transliterate. It's 1-to-1. It's what they believe
See, I'm
is
thinking
accurate.
it more in terms of like the kinds of insults you can craft, and because the word trans is in translator, there are a lot of words I'm thinking of right now that I cannot say on stream.
So what I'm gathering is
Really,
there's
I should
not
be the
like
one
a-
writing insults for people to use on Twitter.
there's not really like a localizer designated job. That's just part of your job description
That's
as a translator.
that's just part of like
But they focus
odds
on
are
calling
if you're
them
like on like
localizers to like make an other. Like,
yes,
oh, these people
basically,
are
yeah. It's a nameless mass we must hate.
Okay.
Us versus
Oh,
them.
That makes sense, I get. Well, I mean, it doesn't make. I mean, I could. You know what I mean? It makes sense. I can make sense of what the fuck is happening now. It just doesn't make sense.
Do things people don't like, and despite consumers telling you we don't want you to insert political beliefs and stupid memes into your translations, they just keep doing it. And now they're paying the price for it, and nobody feels sorry for them. Even if that comes with the price of having lower quality translations through AI. You're already doing low quality translations.
Thank you.
Even if
Thank
it
you
comes.
for keeping us on point, Gil.
The problem with this is like they're making it like it's like come up and since like you reap what you sow. It's like I don't think anyone sowed anything in this situation. It's just like something's changing.
Yeah.
It's like you could take like
it'd be
Schadenfreude out
very
of
fun
it.
because like I remember during COVID there were a lot of protests from truckers in Canada when it came to like their work being disrupted by like different like sorts of code regulations and the like, and I'm just thinking to myself like they should have learned to code.
Oh, like you can take Schadenfreude from it, but like
coal miners being unemployed. You just need to learn to code. All right, go with the times. AI is gonna automate that shit.
You can take Schadenfreude from this shit, but it's like characterizing it as like, oh, you reap what you sow is like inaccurate.
Yeah,
it's like it's
like,
not like
Schadenfreude,
doing
but don't
this.
also then pretend you have the moral high ground.
I don't know. It's fucking dumb.
Previous videos about her. So she's been involved in a million different localization, let's say, controversies. She's responsible for the
What even is that? Wait, petition to ban the phrase from the collective Japanese consciousness. What does that even say? I don't read Japanese.
Huh?
For context for people looking at the stream. What is that? What is that phrase on stream? You see that?
Onisan ni ikenai? Wait, no. I don't know what that I don't know what that kanji is. First kanji is.
Okay. Oh well.
Something about like don't go. I don't know. If I had to actually tweet, it was hard. It would be easier.
Translation. She's infamous for supporting falsely a narrative by other localizers that a cross-dressing character in a manga series was actually trans. She also has petitioned to ban certain phrases because she.
I think I literally
in that manga are they cross-dressing? I thought that isn't the title of the manga I turned my friend into a girl or something. So it sounds like more than cross-dressing. To be fair,
I think it's that manga that there was like one page that somebody made some outrage about. I think it had some like trans implications or something. Like the translation was saying this character was trans or something like that, and people were like upset about it, like comparing it to the original Japanese or whatever. I sent it to a Japanese friend, and he said that's just what they say. Like the English translation, it's literally just what they say. So again, it's not about being like actually
Yeah.
accurate to Japanese. You just don't want this character to be trans. But it's fine for them to make black jokes in ghost stories because that's based.
Based.
I'm reading like Wikipedia for the page as well.
Are they some weird like vampire version of Nico Nico from Love Live? Is that what they're supposed to be?
I think so.
It used to just be Nico.
Oh, Yome. Oyome-san ni ikenai. Something wife.
She thinks that they're
Like
not
don't
fit
go.
for
Wife can't
Western
go.
audiences. She's also the one who was
Wife ban.
criticizing many shonen
Ikenai is a
manga
weird
for
word.
catering to teenage boys, and it goes on and on and on. Even a situation where she was corrected by another translator for one of her mistranslations and referred to that person as a rando.
Rub-a-dub-dub,
Yeah,
thanks
very
for the
entitled.
sub.
And one of her latest hits from this year, she was responsible for localizing the Dog Girl anime. If you know, you know. And even with that,
Yeah, Kanoto Kurosawa. Oh, wait, you don't know it? Tourist.
sort of a project she couldn't help herself, inserting all kinds
too
of
easy.
Gen Z language like
These people's
big,
brains would be melted if they saw Kanoto Kurosawa. They are
that was exactly
not
my
ready.
thought when the show was going on. People were losing their shit, and it's like, bitch, please. What was it? It was like it was even a few years ago. Like what? Dog and Scissors.
That's 2013. Yeah.
2015. Yeah.
They got resting bitch face, and she'll be all up in her dress, and all these goofy, unnecessary things that just piss.
Kind of makes me
off.
wonder, like, do people from different countries that have different languages, do they give a shit about this? Or do they just watch the show and enjoy it?
All these goofy, unnecessary things. What do you mean, goofy?
I don't think
it's a comedy.
To piss people off.
Oh yeah.
That's a weird characterization for that.
Who's getting pissed off when an anime character says yeeted?
That they got resting.
I guess these people are.
And she'll be all up in her dress, and all these goofy, unnecessary things that just piss people off. And also, people pointed out her infamous support for the mistranslations of this manga, where other localizers were trying to paint a cross-dressing male character as a trans character. She supported that openly and said the translations were correct. And no, she was wrong. And 7Cs, who was responsible for it, came.
So what exactly were like the mistranslations here? Like how are they, through the translation, trying to paint this character as a trans character exactly?
I would assume that having no context, that it's a matter of like trans being a spectrum, and it's like,
let me see,
fall on the spectrum,
or maybe they use like feminine pronouns, which they very well could be using in Japanese as well.
You'll see that a lot where like, because like trans people in Japan like will use like boku, or like if they're born female and identifying as more masculine, they'll use like boku and stuff like that. But then like that's not necessarily, it didn't always translate 1-to-1 with like anime and manga, because people will do that with like a girl character as like a character quirk. Essentially, it's like how they have fucking Naruto have like that fucking vocal tick and be like Dadabayo or whatever. That thing doesn't really like translate to like English, which is why you got the weird fucking like believe it, which is not anything remotely close to like what Dadabayo would be in Japanese. I don't know. I can I can see how it would be like really muddied when like you're talking about something that is like a spectrum and something that technically like this is literally about like like how you present yourself. So it's like it's literally like something that's on. It's not like a matter of just like a female character saying Boku or something, right? Like it's the way that they're literally presenting themselves. So it's like, okay, if you obviously this is going to be a fucking thing of like this person isn't like support like they're not in the same mentality of like what trans is and all that bullshit, right? Or whatever fuck. Where it's like they're going to see a character I'm sure that they're seeing trans as like kind of more directly like you identify as like the opposite gender kind of thing or whatever the fuck.
Mhm.
Whereas like obviously someone that's these people that have been translating it are kind of viewing it as like the spectrum thing. We're like, okay, well they're technically on the spectrum for it, so why not say it this way and like that's how we'll
Right.
localize it kind of thing. I don't know. I can understand why it'd be confusing and muddied for people, especially like because you're like having to go through translating and localizing another culture and like all this like I don't know. I get it.
Came out and apologized and fixed these mistranslations. And also going beyond just Katrina, people don't forget these are all just random tweets of localizers boasting about abusing their power and their trust as
Using their power. The power.
The power.
The power that they're going to inject into shows that that no one's gonna watch.
I wish
political
For the day,
agenda
we can
and
still just
the
leave
dog
everything
show.
in Japanese, and we can just leave everything in Japanese and still cash a paycheck. I don't see what the problem with that one is.
I wish fan translators had abused more of their power with the fucking translation of Attack on Titan.
You considered that fan translator, localizers could have prevented 9/11 with their power.
True.
Well, I don't think we talk about that enough.
Why didn't they translate it faster?
Maybe we would have been able. Maybe the CIA would have been able to tell why those Al Qaeda guys were taking those like that plane training, that airplane flying training. If they localizers had translated it faster.
Look, all I'm saying is Eoten Onslaught makes more fucking sense than Attack on Titan. Okay, I don't know what the fuck that means. You're attacking Titan.
Attack on Titan. We're missing like a preposition there, I feel.
Yeah,
or like, I don't know, Titans should be plural.
Eoten Onslaught makes much more sense.
Absolutely.
Really just sums it up.
The Ghost in the Shell title for Ghost in the Shell.
The best. It says the true joy of localization really is seeing what you can get away with. And that attitude has been complete.
Okay, who are they replying to? What's the context?
It's also one guy.
For many years, localizers have been openly saying this, openly saying that they want to get away with as much stuff as possible in their translations, and we all have seen this, and we're aware of it, and we don't like it, and we are vocal about it, but they just keep doing it. So moving...
Like, I don't think that you have to necessarily read it that way. I don't think this has to be a fucking political thing. Like, oh, they're trying to see what they get away with as a political... Like, you see fan translators do this shit all the time. They fucking put stupid references to fucking... Like, the fucking lesbo magnet shit. Like, that could be the same thing. Like, oh, I want to see what I can get away with as, like, just putting a fucking meme in here.
Yeah.
Like... I need more context to be able to be like, okay, yeah, they're talking about that.
Oh, it's literally a reference to someone in a video game. It's a reference to this. This looks like just a random NPC in a game. My family has owned large boats for generations. I too love big boats. I cannot lie.
Wait,
and that's it. And that's the context.
That's what he's saying. He likes to, or they like to see what they can get away with.
Yeah, and just random shit posts.
it's a reference to Sir Mix-a-Lot.
It's literally what I was talking about. Just See what you like, how you can try to sneak in some stupid bullshit in there and see how you get away with it.
In like, I don't know, is this like an integral line of dialogue? What's going on here? What did they say in Japanese? Like, what's the why is this a problem?
Video games have been doing this for decades too. Like Ted Woolsey translating like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy.
Oh,
I
feel
can
like
only
Romana
imagine what would happen if
having to cut
Earthbound
out-
came out today.
I feel like this is like fucking people that have score brain rot, but it's like just political brain rot where like everything has to be this weird binary of like, oh, this person is saying they want to see what they can get away with. Clearly, this is a political agenda, and they're just trying to subvert my. Like what? Like they're talking about fucking
yeah.
boats in a Sir Mix-a-Lot, right?
Yeah, it looks like people are saying it's like a throwaway line. So yeah, it's like, yeah, what?
It's like the donuts line in Pokemon.
Yeah, this is what I mean when I said it doesn't matter, like, shitposting. They will just like take stuff out of context anyway. It's not like, we're ever gonna get like an honest like conversation on this discourse.
Say like this, such disrespect for the substance of the original text. Is
I'm sure like if I doubt the stream will fucking get any traction, but hypothetically if it did, we would also probably be like sort of do the same thing where we just get taken out of context or whatever.
They're gonna take
completely be misrepresented.
They're gonna take my.
I would
unhinged
love for
rant.
that to happen.
They're gonna take my unhinged rant talking about conspiracy theories, and we're gonna be like,
We already know the power of what we can do with like the things we say in editing and just make ourselves say completely different things.
especially
They're gonna take like me saying different like phonetics throughout this entire like 3-hour stream, and then they're just gonna use those to make me say every slur.
with a series as thoughtful as this one. Corporate greed.
Jokes
knows
on
no
them. They could have
bounds, of
saved time
course.
and just given
It's
you like
funny to me
$3.
Also, that the official tweet announcing this only mentions the AI part in Japanese. Shameless. Yeah, imagine disrespecting the original Japanese text. I can't imagine that, right?
what?
Are they a localizer? Like, I don't know. Let's see. Distant Valhalla.
Who are you, Distant Valhalla? Andrew Steiner Hodgkin?
Okay, translator. Tendagram, Daiserai, Lonerline. Okay. VTuber. Oh, that's a game. Okay. So it's like, what do they do to you? Why are you getting so aggro?
Shameless. Yeah, imagine disrespecting the original Japanese text. I can't imagine that, right? Localizers. But some people replied to that saying,
It's like
Localizers.
so aggro.
disrespect is when you can't force ancient memes and current year street slang into your Japanese media localization.
It'd be really funny if like the AI just started doing that.
Interesting argument. Honestly, this has been a long time coming and often deserved. And people are
Also, what do you mean by street slang? What do you mean by that? Say who you're talking about. Again, I'm going to pull a Kanye West. Just say who you're talking about. Say it.
This is an
and
airplane
often
joke.
deserved. And people were pointing out that this localizer has often inserted Gen Z language into different translations where it was completely inappropriate and didn't even make sense.
What
in
the fuck?
terms Of the story.
Boomers and Gen X are pretty old, like my parents. Millennials are kind of in the middle, and Gen Z is mostly still studying, like me. What kind of game is that?
What kind of game is that? I don't see. What was the original like? I don't see what the issue is. Games about a modern high schooler who goes back to the Sengoku era scenes using Gen Z JP slang were localized focus on to focus the generational aspect instead. People got mad at it, so the lines were changed to be more plain, less faithful, kind of a nothing burger. Again, I don't understand what the context is here. This just feels like,
So,
again,
it makes
So it
sense
sounds
that people
like
be
it's
upset
like
about this.
some kind of isekai scenario in the or in
Yeah.
some kind of way, where like fucking literal Gen Z kid got transferred to somewhere else and has explained the concept of like their generations, and so they're like, oh yeah, Gen Z or Gen X and Boomers are just kind of old, and Millennials are.
why did they censor the swearing in this bottom tweet?
So they can monetize their video.
They haven't swore like this whole video.
Yeah.
So I guess it makes sense.
Oh, because I guess 2 swear words are going to be on stream.
Well, I guess
Fuck,
like
fuck, shit, fuck, damn, cunt. I don't know.
I guess like they're worried about getting like banned because like they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm on the wrong, right? I'm on the whatever.
Meanwhile, we just made like an extended joke about us just saying "cum."
Imagine preferring something with results.
So what's all right? Let's see what its witty retort is going to be here.
And here's another situation where a person was essentially saying, nobody wants to deal with localizers, and you're kind of reaping what you sow, and that's why people don't feel sorry that you're losing your jobs to AI. With this localizer,
I feel like he's like the way he's saying this. He's got like Joker makeup on his fucking VTuber thing.
This guy is localizing this whole like grand like argument and narrative into a
he is
video.
Not standing on business. He is localizing right now.
imagine preferring something with results that will definitely be wrong and bad over once in a blue moon seeing a line about a woman or a gay person or some other nonsense that makes you mad for simply existing. Remember, they don't give a shit about translation accuracy. It can be inaccurate as F, and they will never care. They will only care when that perceived inaccuracy collides.
Please no swearing. This is a Christian YouTube channel.
Well, maybe they didn't censor it. Maybe they just pulled this from a source that censored it. Then,
but they censored what they were saying anyways.
Worldview. Then they suddenly care a lot about accuracy. So number one. Classic pancakes waffles situation. This user said, stop making low quality translations and inserting irrelevant things into your localizations. And that person says, oh yeah, I bet you're real afraid of gay people. It's like, what? What does that have to do?
You know why. You've used bounding into comics. You know why. You go to the comment section there, you're going to see exactly why.
Do with anything. It's a complete deflection of valid criticism about localizers and their products they've made over the past
these are not valid criticisms
decade plus. And here's another tweet people
like I think what we were talking about earlier with the Nagatoro thing, that's how like I think valid criticism of these sorts of things should be carried out, right? And it's like, I don't know, mild mannered, generally like chill, respectful, trying to open up a dialogue, that sort of thing, you know, like sane people.
Well, I mean,
brutal.
Again, I guess to play devil's advocate, like the thing that they're talking about, like the boats, like if they're specifically talking, because like I guess that one person was like inserting like old fucking memes or whatever the fuck. So I guess like the I like big boats thing would kind of apply to that. Like if you're like, dog, you don't gotta like try so hard to put this shit in here, like
yeah.
I guess that's a valid kind of thing. It's like,
no, you can almost certainly make a valid criticism of that, but we're not getting that from this.
No,
I think that is valid to put in the game actually, because like as a translator, if you're working for a game, you want to make it so people read all of the NPC dialogue. So like if you're playing Earthbound, like the script is so good because Shigesato Itoi is goated. You actively want to seek out all of the NPCs to see what the hell, like kind of crazy shit they have saying. You want people to appreciate your work. When you're playing an RPG and you're actively avoiding everything, or playing a platformer, you're avoiding all of the enemies, you're not engaging with the game. Like, you want people to engage with the game.
To be fair, I can see the argument for like why you'd be like if you're playing like the game seems like it was like Fire Emblem or something. I don't know if it was or not. Like, but it seemed like a game.
Someone said Big One said it looked like Trails. So
Trail like okay. If that's like a period kind of piece, right? And it's like supposed to be taking place in like the early 1900s or something, and you're like trying to immerse yourself and like be, you know, lose yourself in this world, and then like it has a Sir Mix-a-Lot reference and it like pulls you out and like dampens your enjoyment. I can understand that criticism, right? Like I think that's fair.
Sure. So I think the point that they make would be like, well, yeah, sure, you should definitely craft dialogue, and in a way that makes you want to read like all the dialogue from like various NPCs you'll encounter in the game. So it's not necessarily like an issue of them making like these egregious changes. It's just rather this change is not like conducive to that end.
Right.
Yeah, I can't really speak for newer players too much. I say it might be a generational thing, but like I'm literally of the generation of the people who would be playing stuff like this. But I really like 90s RPGs like Earthbound, like Secret of Mana or whatever Ted Woolsey translates, because like talking to NPCs is fun. It makes playing more of the game a fun and memorable experience, especially like
little Easter eggs and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of NES games with just dog shit translations, but like you want to talk to all of the people. Like there's a line in Faxanadu like you're at the Tower of Suffer or something like that. It's really funny.
Right now, I took this screenshot last night. I believe it's gone from 400 quotes to well over 1,000 at this point. This aspiring.
The only reason they prefer subs is that it allows them to exoticize and fetishize a culture due to historical superiority complexes in cinema that is deeply rooted in racism challenge level. I don't understand what this tweet is. I don't understand like how to parse this.
What the fuck is this?
Weebs realize the only reason they prefer subs is that it allows them to exoticize and fetishize a culture due to historical superiority complexes in cinema that is deeply rooted in racism challenge impossible. Okay. I think I understand what the gist of this is saying now. I don't understand the rationale though.
Localizer says.
All right, let me see. I don't know. Maybe they elaborate more. Let's see.
The reason they prefer subs is that it allows them to exoticize and fetishize a culture due to historical superiority complexes in cinema that is deeply rooted in racism challenge level impossible.
Explain this, Rev.
This might be a contender of one of the worst tweets ever made.
Okay.
No, they didn't say like the N-word or anything. It's.
I want Rev to explain this. I need help. I don't understand this.
Is this going to be one of those things where it's like pointing at the thing and being like, "Oh, this is bad." Well, it's obviously bad. I don't need to explain myself. We all know
what's been going on. This user said, "Translators be like, we need
Wait,
to
what?
make changes such as removing offensive
You're not gonna explain it?
because it'll sell."
We
just the thing I was saying.
Like I'm trying to like actually like understand what their point is.
Rev, you failed me.
You're not honestly representing what you're talking about. I can't
counting
believe
on
it.
you to explain that for me. I don't know what the fuck they were saying. You took it out of context. I need an explanation.
Yeah, I don't.
Sell better. Blame capitalism, not us. But the only line change was a line that said, he's acting very suspicious to, he's being a sussy little baka. I mean, yeah.
There's only one line change? Wait, in the context of wait, what was this line? What was it in? What was it changed? How many lines were in this thing? 10? 10,000? If there's only one line change, then...
That's exactly kind of what they're actually changing in these localizations. They're taking completely normal lines and then adding in Reddit Gen Z language. That makes no sense and people don't want to see it. And I made this response, this is kind of my final point of the video.
Hot take, agenda pushing has no place in translations for anything. When you change your work to fit your narrative, you shouldn't be a translator. As much as I hate AI translation becoming, it makes sense why these people are fine with it because of agenda pushing translators.
Chibi, no.
Damn, Chibi taking the L.
I was responding to...
This is
you
an
have
outcome
no
that
idea.
should not have had to happen, but localizers fucked around with translations for too long. They are now finding out, and nobody besides their peers feel sorry for them.
Chibi reviews.
Yeah, Lime, all of Rev's videos and Hirohei and all of these people, it's just reading tweets.
It's just reading
great
tweets.
Anime YouTuber, very nice guy too. Would definitely recommend checking out his content. But I made this reply about the situation that really sums up my feelings and a lot of people's feelings, where this is an outcome, the use of AI translations, is something that should not have had to happen. Like, we should have proper translations done by humans, but localizers have been messing around with translations for so long that they're now finding out the consequences of this, and they're...
This is not a consequence of that.
Is your guy saying, are they doing Reddit jokes or are they doing politics?
Industry feel sorry for them.
If they're doing politics, why mention the Reddit
People who
jokes?
consume anime and manga do not like seeing AI translations. They would much rather see a proper one done by a human being. But localizers ruin that. And now when localizers are losing their jobs to AI, people are just not sympathetic at all.
Okay, so what was the so in the case of people who are losing their jobs in this context with Ancient Magus Bride, what happened there? Who was translating it? Who was doing the work? What did they do to it?
And they're
Is he just complaining about slaying
like
to
we're
fill a
like
place?
all of the like I think because we're getting close to midnight where I'm at, so I want to like kind of end up wrapping up. But what I think is very telling about all this is that this matter regarding AI and translation is a matter of Ancient Magus Bride, and yet none of the stuff that we've seen talking about this wants to talk about what's going on with Ancient Magus Bride that would warrant this. So it's like, what?
Again, this is like it's all about making them into this monolith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, all these localizers do this, and they all represent this, and so this is taking the place of these localizers' jobs, and will soon take the place of all localizer jobs.
Yeah, it's like Lime said. What about the unwoke translators, quote unquote? And like, are all translators woke? Like, what's like?
Well, no, fan translators aren't woke, obviously.
Fan translators are woke,
they're
of
perfect.
course.
Love all of the ARR subs.
But that's going to do it for this video. I know a lot of topics in today's video, so feel free.
Well, there weren't that many topics.
Hey, what's up, guys? Right here. So today we have another round of localizer related.
Further mistranslate. Is this the one where he reacts to Asmon? Because then, I guess we never touched on Asmon is in the thumbnail. We never really touched on Asmongold's stream because there's not really a lot to like talk about there apart from
I did touch on it.
his.
He's a fucking tourist. He didn't fucking watch anime. There's nothing else to
Well,
talk
that's kind
about.
of the thing. That's why there's not a lot to talk about there. All we would really get out of it is just kind of watching his like reactions to things.
Watching his reaction to a Rev video, and just like
that we
agreeing.
ourselves have now just reacted to. So it's like, apart from watching him just go like, "Damn, that's crazy," like Joe Rogan style, like he's a Khan from the Mongolian steppes, you know.
Asmongolian.
Asmongolian.
There you go.
There we go. Cut it. Cut that shit together. Someone make that edit right now. I am a Mongolian.
Yeah, I don't like the Asmongold is the reason this shit blew up, I guess, in like the current period of time or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But like he's like bringing this to the attention of like people who don't watch fucking anime.
Yeah.
He doesn't watch.
So now we got to deal with it. Now we got to deal with them coming in.
And they're like calling people tourists because they like don't agree with them or whatever.
Because they don't agree with them. They don't agree with them. People who don't watch anime. It's like, what?
Japanese games, manga.
I guess we'll go through this a little bit.
Localizers. That's a good one. Crying about being replaced.
It's like, what do we say to that?
Why is he
it's
laughing? Localizer.
No, it's not a good pun. It sucks, honestly.
I would like to think even Rev thought it sucked.
Ruining Japanese media with outdated Reddit memes and their garbage political views.
I mean, that was kind of the reaction.
And so
Well, that was a new one.
Political views are adding in like big chungus and shit.
It's like, yeah, he just immediately takes it at face value. It's like, all right, well, I guess I'll research into this. You know, I'll see. I'll come away with I'll form my own informed opinion. It's like, now we got like an 11-minute YouTube video here. That's all we fucking need, honestly.
To be fair, he does do that one time.
He does do it right at the beginning, and then that's all he needs.
Well, that was true, so everything else is true.
Like, damn, I wasn't aware there was this book called The Bell Curve, huh? I hadn't seen those FBI crime statistics before. I guess I'll just, be completely uncritical of this information and just, wow, that's crazy.
Again,
I guess racism
buying
is good.
like several books to gain access to knowledge that no one outside
Right.
of Japan has.
Oh, again, yeah. I mean, these content creators, again, it's not their forte is not really doing research into these matters and having nuanced opinions or anything like that. It's really just to report on tweets.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I don't really have a huge problem with like people that aren't in the space like talk about this shit. It's just like it's fucking annoying when they're spreading misinformation.
Right.
And it's like people just take it at face value and they're just like, dog, this is fucking crazy. You know that Dragon Maid talked about the patriarchy? It's like that was fucking 7 years ago.
It was 7 years ago. But does Asmongold know that? Probably not.
Oh my god. You know what's so funny about
Is it
this
because of
net?
these like
You know what's so
outsider
funny about this?
influences
These are
that
the same people
the
that
anime
make
community has like
memes about, like, some person
3
who
topics
aka
that we
Native
just
American
circle around
dress?
Oh,
ad
this is really
nauseum?
funny.
Basically.
He compares Asmongold here, like compares, like, I don't know, just like the translation shit we've been looking at to wearing like a Native American headdress on Halloween.
What?
And it's like, those are not the same thing.
What?
Yeah, I don't know what goes on in that head, honestly.
Even in that analogy, you're not Native American.
You are not. It's like anything.
Teenage boys? Well, it's not enough for her to have her own stupid fucking animes that she likes. She's got to go into
to ban certain
What?
phrases
What?
that they're not fit for Western audiences.
What?
She's also the one who is criticizing many shonen manga for catering to teenage boys, and it goes.
Aren't shonen manga made for teenage boys? Well, it's not enough for her to have her own.
See, this is like the level of understanding that we're on at this point. Isn't Ancient Magus Bride is a shonen manga? If you remember correctly.
It is.
So it's like, I don't know, that doesn't really seem like something that's like made for boys in the same way like One Piece is, or like Demon Slayer.
Even
and as we all know, Jujutsu Kaisen is for the girls.
Yeah, I was gonna say
there
like Haikyuu
there
is
are-
shonen and most of the audience is female.
Yeah, there are famous.
What about Free?
Free's a light novel.
Oh, okay.
There
I wasn't sure if I think that was also thinking it could have been original.
there are
but,
famous
yeah.
examples of like shonen.
So it's like, yeah, that's kind of like the level we're on, where it's like, oh, it's made for shonen, it's made for little boys, and it's like, oh, god damn it,
there are famous.
got to reinvent the wheel every fucking time because these topics will never fucking die. We've been having these same conversations for 30 fucking years now.
This is why
And it will never end. It will never die. We'll die someday, certainly. Some of us sooner rather than later. But this shit will persist forever.
This is why we had the Sisyphus rock on the original thumbnail. It was literally the same fucking every fucking like Hayden said, every fucking time we have this conversation, it's because there's an influx of people that don't understand this shit, and they just
We gotta go over it all over again.
it's have this conversation once a year at this point.
Fucking
Anything else in here?
animes that she likes.
Male character as a trans character.
And these are the kind of people who will call you a tourist.
Oh my
It's like,
God.
okay, dude, I've been watching anime for over 15 years. I've completed close to 3,000 shows. I've talked to industry people. I've read several books. Suck my dick, idiot.
Yeah.
We were called or I guess say I was called a tourist 2 days ago. I was like,
Hell
damn,
yeah. We finally
Finally.
did it.
we finally.
I've
did
been
it.
called a tourist a lot of times.
It was
It's
on
really
the Kobe
funny.
short. It's funny because I feel like they take it as we're making some kind of fucking criticism of fucking Comey from
This
a
has been an
fucking. This is problematic. It's like, no, dog, I don't give a shit if it's problematic. I'm just saying it fucking sucks. Like, not really. But it's like, it's not like I'm saying it's problematic. I don't know. Like, I don't know why people fucking read it that way. But they're like, oh, you're a fucking tourist
Yeah.
for fucking do. It's like, dog, the fuck are you talking about?
Anyway,
Well,
we've
you
been
see,
going
it's
for
a
almost
popular
4
show
hours
that-
now.
Yep. I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go ahead. I'm just saying we should probably like start wrapping it up.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was
want to
just
go
gonna
through
say,
any more of
like,
these fucking videos, honestly.
It's a
We'd be
popular
here all
show
night
that
if we
you're
did that.
kind of supposed to like. And again, with these like people who call you tourist, I don't know, if you like SAO or something, you're a tourist poser, whatever. But if you have any complaints about like a popular show that you're supposed to like, then that's a problem. Even though, like, you know,
Let's think, like, they were like, this is why we need gatekeeping. I'm like, bro, you'd be the one getting gatekept. What the fuck are you
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about?
you would be one of the ones to go first.
I've been here fucking 25 years. Where the fuck? You probably weren't even fucking born. Like, what the fuck? I remember I used to gatekeep like kids like you in the fucking toilet. Fucking give a swirly back in the 90s.
shove you in the locker.
How do you do, my fellow anime fans? We're totally on the same level. We're like, get the fuck out of here. Well, you
The interesting thing about gatekeeping is
your
like,
kind don't belong here, boy.
the interesting thing about gatekeeping is like these people like try to like co-opt it in some weird way where they like are trying to bring it back. It's like, bro, we used gatekeeping like fucking just like 10 years ago. It was to stop people from talking about popular shows. That was specifically what like no one could talk about Naruto. No one could talk about fucking Dragon Ball because like people they were talked about everywhere. So it's like we gatekept the fuck out of people from talking about them at certain places so that they wouldn't flood the fucking place with the shit to your conversation they were having everywhere else. That's what gatekeeping was. Like, it's not like we're gonna gatekeep and just suddenly like block people from having like a political take. No, it's like, no, you're just not gonna be able to talk about your shitty fucking popular show.
Yeah,
that's what people
like,
are
you can have your woke political take. You can have your political agenda. You know, your axe you want to grind about anything except One Piece. You're not allowed to talk about One Piece. Shut the fuck up about One Piece, you fucking normie.
You can complain about Naruto, just not here. You fucking get the fuck out.
I love anime.
Like I said, your kind ain't around.
Shit on
You don't like
Chobits,
your kind around
but
here.
like the character designs and will co-opt it. But
I
won't,
love
like
fucking Chobits,
co-sign
dude.
it.
Chobits is beast as hell.
Yeah.
This is like
Chobits is
Thank you for
amazing.
coming back again,
but yeah,
Gil.
the show is bad. Haven't seen it. Character designs are good. I'm gonna put
Chobits is
tapestries all
Tommy
over my wall to make it very aesthetic. Even though I hate all of these shows, because these
And
are
then you
the
take
shows
a,
I'm
take a picture
supposed
of
to
it,
like
post
in
it on
this
Twitter,
community.
and you'll get like, I don't know, 50,000 likes.
Yeah.
But yeah, gatekeeping has a purpose. If we gatekept more, we could keep these fucking grifters out that fucking try to politicize every single goddamn fucking thing that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. That would be probably a beneficial way to gatekeep, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Nothing, I guess. Here we are. This is what we're gonna do basically, and we will achieve nothing by doing so.
Yeah.
Anything else to go through in chat? Bring back 90s bullying. You'll be dead and still getting shit comments on the Comey short. If it's pink, it's for girls. If it's blue, it's for boys. Asmongold has talked about finding rotten mice and cockroaches in his carpet and wiping his scurvy blood on the walls. I don't know how people treat it with any degree of seriousness. See, there we go. We need to bring back the personal attacks. Let's go. Let's go. No pretension. None of this like halls of debate stuff. Nah. Go straight for the throat. Anyway. With that, good night, everyone. Hope you have a nice evening.
Good night.
Take care.
Good night.
I think the next stream will be next week. We'll just be doing a nice comfy stream where we go through like the anime airing this season, see what we want to watch and all that. And yeah, and check out the latest podcast episode. It's about Christmas, you know, that holiday that's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up. Christmas. Can you believe it? It's just a week away. Christmas. Woohoo.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Rub-a-dub-dub. Thanks for the sub.
Thanks for the sub.